The Xbox Showcase is right around the corner, and some brand new leaks and rumors show some promise, but maybe some announcements that might feel a little bit early. Now, I usually don't pay much attention to these types of leaks and rumors. Usually around Summer Game Fest time, we get all kinds of things that are claimed, but this one in particular seemed pretty reliable. The leaker that it came from has gotten things correct recently and seems to have sources at Xbox. So in my latest video, this is the live discussion that followed that latest video. I walked through those leaks and rumors. There's a variety of things to look at. There was even some commentary from Geoff Keighley about Project Latitude potentially being discussed during the Xbox Showcase time. I don't know if that means during the showcase or after, but check out that video because I don't just look at the leaks. I also talk about all of the games that I expect to be there, and I do think, and I argue in that video, that this will be the biggest event of the Summer Game Fest. Geoff Keighley recently had some remarks about his kickoff event, and I think Xbox is in a prime position to have the biggest show, and we'll have to see what they announce. So we always start today with an upload, so make sure you go check that out. Leave a comment. You might even be featured in this live discussion that took place after the fact. And when you watch those videos, you get a chance to hear what I think. And now it's time to hear what you think. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, chat. Thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate you piling on that upload. I saw so many of you there talking and giving your own thoughts about what you hope to see. It seemed like people are pretty much in agreement that this will likely be the biggest show of Summer Game Fest. And Joker Quinn, Han shot first, and so did you, kicking off the day with the first 5 members of the day, setting it up to where somebody can, and Mash does with the 20 bomb. We're not even started. We're not even 2 minutes into the showcase. Into the show, talking about the showcase, and a 20 bomb from Mash secures the first 25 members. I now owe you guys 5. The goal this week is 300, and you're halfway there. 151 members already. That takes it to 176. And I got to jump back into Liza P on Friday night and try to beat that boss that made me put the game down. I got to get good, all right? I'm going to have to get good for you guys on Friday night. So do me a favor. We're starting the day strong right now. Smash that like button. Give me those first 100 likes. That helps this video find more people. And I want to know what you guys think. Primarily, let's talk about those leaks, okay? Those rumors, because I dismissed them at first. I was like, nah, there's no way. I'm not talking about that. I was like, there's no way that's happening. But then I looked into it and I was like, wait, this guy has gotten things pretty consistently correct. It's almost like he's got somebody at Xbox that's kind of, telling him some things. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't lock down and the Discord. Sorry, I apologize. You guys can now live chat in the Discord. That was my mistake. Someone wants to see Lono play Liza P. That's right. Freaking Mash. Dude, Mash is a maniac. He's been carrying the member count, dude. He needs a tag team partner. Well, Alex has been coming in and tag teaming with him and dropping some pretty big member bombs as well. Ika Gang with 11 months of membership says GTA 6 trailer very soon. Aren't they doing that? Are they doing that on their own? They're doing something on their own, are they not? Oh, that might have been a fake out, though. There's been some fake outs with GTA. I might be remembering something that was fake. Elden Ring DLC is coming. You need to beat Moog. I did. That was a member incentive, Severin. They hit the member incentive, and I had to go fight Moog. And I was close to getting it. I just got annoyed with that second half of the fight. I kept dying because I was stepping on the stuff on the ground, and I just got annoyed. The reason people wanted me to fight him is because they know I don't like fights like that. I do not like area of effect and all that. And so we did that on a Friday night, and then people came in with co-op, and I almost beat him the first time with the guys from co-op, and they died. And I was fighting him in the second half, and I almost had him on my own. And then the second time we played him, we crushed him. Like, co-op in that game against a boss is very different. And a 5-bomb comes in from Alex, and he sets up a 30 out of 50. That's another potential 20-bomb dunker. We'll see if anybody takes the bait. We'll see if any of the other big boys are around. Alex and Mash have been hitting home runs. We'll see if anybody else gets the bat out. Don't think there will be a shadow drop, but the long-rumored Fallout 3 remaster would make sense. Okay, yeah, we could talk about that. That was one of the leaks. That was one of the rumors. He's like, there's going to be a shadow drop, okay? He mentioned, like, Starfield DLC and Diablo DLC. I'm like, I can't see them shadow dropping Starfield DLC. That feels like a fourth quarter release. They're going to market it a bunch. They're going to do a bunch of quality of life. They're going to do a bunch of improvements to the base game of Starfield. That feels like a huge marketing missed opportunity because Starfield is such a popular title. Basically the most talked about game the year that it came out. I can't see them passing up on that marketing power for their brand, for their game, for their platform. So I would say Starfield DLC is there, but I can't see them shadow dropping that. He mentioned Diablo DLC. I could see them shadow dropping something into Diablo just for fun, like an event or something. But again, I just don't think so. I think Diablo is just another marketing monster. As low as I thought of the game at launch, you know, it is getting better. We're hearing really good things. So I don't think they would want to do a Diablo 4 shadow drop. A shadow drop is when they say, and you can play it right now. Like, really, a shadow drop is something that you don't know. You don't know about it. Hi-Fi Rush is probably the best example of this. We had no idea the game was coming, and I picked that game back up. I took a break from it because other games had come out, like Stellar Blade, and so I picked up Hi-Fi Rush again. I'm really enjoying it. I played it last night. I think I'm about 30 to 40% through, and I really like it. I think the combat, I really wish people would give that game a shot because I basically said, oh, I probably won't enjoy it because it's a rhythm game, and my daughter played it on the Xbox, and anytime she asked me to help her, I would like struggle to know what to do because she'd be like, 10 hours, 7 hours into the game, and I'm like, I don't know how any of these systems or mechanics work. And so I was always just trying to like button mashing my way through stuff. Once you sort of go through the game, I was like, oh man, people definitely should check this out. So that is a traditional shadow drop. They were like introducing Hi-Fi Rush, and people were like, yo, what the heck is this game? I've never heard of this game before. And they're like, oh yeah, by the way, it's hitting Game Pass right now. I think the most likely game that will be shadow dropped, it won't exactly be a shadow drop because we already know it exists, but I think Towerborn is a good fit for that. Smaller title, smaller game, but it looks great. It looks fun too. It's got the communal aspect, like 4 players. The other game that I think we could potentially see would be the Gears of War collection, the Gears collection. We keep hearing rumors about it. I also think I've theorized that I think Gears collection is going to be multi-plat because I think that's one of the reasons we kept hearing about it and it didn't show up. It's like, if you've got that Gears collection ready to go, what are you waiting on? Now, you could compel me to think that, well, they waited because they wanted to have a Gears 6 trailer, ready as well. Okay, that's fair. That's a fair point. So maybe that's why they've been waiting. I think Gears collection is going to be multi-plat, but it makes for a great shadow drop. You just drop it on Game Pass, get everybody excited, and then give a commercial to Keighley, and he'll talk about it later. Coming to other platforms or something. Those are the two things I could see shadow drop, either Towerborn or like Gears collection. Redfall remake shadow stop. Lost Odyssey remake shadow drop. Bro went back to play Hi-Fi Rush before finishing T-Lu 2. I know, I'm the worst pony. I am the worst pony there is, Trill. Everybody thinks I'm a pony, and I'm like, yo, I got to get back on that Hi-Fi Rush. I was actually feeling bad about The Last of Us 2, but like I know it's a big game, and I don't want to dip my toe back in and have to dip right back out. So I'm kind of waiting. I wanted to get through this time of the year just to kind of see what are release dates, what's coming, so I can kind of plot out a course and say, okay, I've got a month, and I can chisel away at this game in the evenings and not have to take a break. Scalebound, yeah, they're bringing back Scalebound. If they make Gears Collection, is it remakes, remasters? Is there, what would it be? I honestly don't know. I mean, some of them are so old, you'd have to remake them. Well, maybe not, because it's the Unreal Engine. With it being in the... Well, wait, is the earliest of Gears is in the Unreal. They're all in Unreal, I'm pretty sure. Yes. So if they did remasters... That might actually be easier than remaking them, if that makes sense. Like if you've got an older game in Unreal and you go in, bring it to the newest Unreal, or I honestly wouldn't want them to bring it to Unreal 5. Unreal 5's got its problems. John Linneman from Digital Foundry is very confident in the Coalition being able to utilize Unreal 5 very well. we have seen good things, but we haven't seen the greatest of optimization from games like Lords of the Fallen and Hellblade 2 as well. They both, on consoles, were just like, why are you doing this? These don't run that well, right? Like, they look great. I mean, Hellblade 2 is probably going to win awards for how good it looks, but I'm like, man, if you're going to do remasters of Gears, just do it in Unreal 4. You know what I mean? I wouldn't want them to do it in Unreal 5. Unreal 5 is scary right now. I feel like every time a game comes out in Unreal 5, I'm like, here we go. It's going to have all kind of weird performance issues. A total faceless would be more than enough, says Eugene. Yeah, I mean, the core game of Gears 1 through whatever they would do it, 1 through 4, 1 through whatever, I would imagine that, I think I played almost all of them, and I would think that, yeah, if you just make them look pretty, that'd be pretty much all you'd need. The gameplay and the core elements of the environments and stuff wouldn't need changed all that much. That game was kind of ahead of its time, I mean, if we're honest. If you go back and you play some of the original Gears and you just look at the gameplay, they were, I feel like they were visionary. Like, they kind of saw where things were headed with third person, with just shooting and movement mechanics. I think they did a really good job with that game. And also, it didn't change all that much from the first game to the most recent game. Your move sets, your movement, the way you go and move from cover to cover, and the way you engage in combat, the core of the game is very much the same. And I think that's true of many games. That's not a knock. I don't think that's like a criticism. Unreal 5 looks incredible, but they need to work out the multi-threading issues. Yeah, I'm not an expert. I just know that Unreal 5 promised us the world, and we've consistently seen issues with Unreal 5 games. So I'm like, yeah, maybe let's pump the brakes here. Yo, it's good feed. I see you in the chat. You changed your mind on which game Shadow prediction? I'm joking. I was on Twitter seeing same thing. It changed my mind. Wait, what do you mean I changed my mind on which games are Shadow? I've not made Shadow predictions until just this week. Have I said before what I thought was going to be Shadow dropped? I think for a long time I've said Gears Collection would be good, Towerborn would be good. I said that during the Xbox Developer Direct earlier this year. I said, oh, if there's a Shadow drop, it might be Towerborn, and then the Gears Collection would make for a perfect Shadow drop if you drop a trailer for Gear 6. Fable reveal? No, I don't think Fable is at this event. No. If they follow their pattern, Fable did its big cinematic, and then they're going to go quiet for a couple of years. Hellblade did a cinematic, went quiet. State of Decay did their cinematic, and then they went quiet. The Coalition showed up and showed off a demo, and then they went quiet. I think Fable goes quiet for a couple of years now. They don't need to... Listen, hear me on this, and I hope you guys agree with me on this. They don't need to walk out anything that's not close at hand because they own so much property. You don't need to do this thing where you're like, yeah, here's simulated gameplay or in-engine footage or a cinematic trailer. Oh, yeah, and the game's coming out in 3 to 4 years. They don't need to do that. They're sitting on a mountain of property. Anything they show or announce at this showcase, in my opinion, this is what I want, so they don't have to do this, but my preference is don't show me anything, don't talk about anything, unless it's within 18 months of being in my hands. I don't need a cinematic trailer for your game that's coming in 3 years. I don't frickin' care. By the time 2026 or 2027 rolls around, dude, who cares? There's so much time in between. There's so many games in between. There's so many events in between. If you're going to come to an event like this, please only show me things, only announce things, only really go into detail about things that are coming in the next 18 months. The minute you get beyond that, you start talking about things that are 2 and 3 years away. It's like, who cares? There's a monsoon of games coming this year. I think there's likely a monsoon of games coming next year. So you don't need to focus beyond that window of time. I don't think it's important. I just don't. People are like, we need to go back to the days of E3. And I'm like, why? Why? Why do you want to go back to when they were like showing you a trailer for something like Watch Dogs or The Division 1, and then the game comes out years later and it's nothing like what they showed you, and it was basically a fake trailer, and you waited all this time and you got all hyped up. It's like, no. When we were only getting everybody together once a year, developers and publishers felt this pressure to, well, we got to have something. It's E3 after all. It's the only time of the year we can really talk to the gaming public. And so they would force this, like, well, we got to have something, make sure we got a trailer. They don't need to do that anymore. That's still done today. I won't dispute the fact that there are still companies that trot out trailers that are overhyped or cinematic or fake, and then the game doesn't end up like them. But I'm telling you, we're moving away from that. We are 100% moving away from that. I don't think companies are going to keep doing that. It's expensive. It hurts the games. It hurts reception. You don't need to do that. You can do things like developer directs. You can do things like state of plays. You can do smaller showcases, smaller announcements. You don't need to treat June as if it's the only time you can announce a game. Xbox has the rights to Activision versions of Transformers, Deadpool, X-Men, Spider-Man, and 007. I could also see a gun or Singularity game. Anything, I'm sorry, you said Singularity Remake. Eric, anything that's touching Marvel, Deadpool, X-Men, Spider-Man, I don't know. I really don't know. Because with the way Marvel Disney dictates sales requirements and royalty share, Blade's probably a first run to see, okay, what can we do with Marvel property? Can we generate enough sales to satisfy... And it is a smaller property. Like, Blade's not as well known as like a Deadpool, X-Men, or Spider-Man. Don't get upset at me saying that, Blade fans. I think that's pretty easy to see. Of the property, you know, which is more popular. So the required sales and royalty and all of that with Disney Marvel might not be as extreme. Like, we saw that from the Insomniac leaks with Spider-Man. So I just don't know if anybody's going to want to do Marvel property right now, because what they demand of a game. I mean, I wouldn't want to deal with Disney, if I'm honest. I wouldn't want to deal with Disney. Look at what happened to Star Wars Jedi Survivor. It came out well before it was supposed to. The director left right after they got that game respectable on console. The director left. He went back to Santa Monica. Thank you, Joker Quinn, for gifting a member, keeping the member train going here, taking us to 31 out of 50, tempting a 20 bomb Agent of Chaos. We'll see if anybody takes the bait. Joker Quinn. Do you think it'll matter if Xbox has the best gaming showcase of all time? I don't think even that will change anything for the Xbox console. That's not the point of the showcase, Shelly. No. I think the point of the Xbox showcase is to talk to the general gaming public. I mean that. I've argued this before. I think the tone of this showcase is going to be very different. I think it will undeniably be the biggest event of Summer Game Fest. They will likely announce the most games out of anybody. They're going to announce more games than Ubisoft for sure. I don't know if they'll have more game announcements than Keighley. Because Keighley gets to do like little short commercials and stuff. We now have a rumor, leak, whatever, a claim that Dragon Age Dreadwolf will be fully revealed this week. It's been claimed likely during Summer Game Fest Showcase. Jez Corden's article, I got that in my video. He seems to, not he seems to think, people seem to think that he was hinting that Dragon Age will be at the Xbox Showcase. So I don't know about that. I don't know if it's going to go to Keighley. I don't know. It might end up going to Xbox. This guy says, Lono rules, TY. This guy says, could be the end of the Xbox as we know it. If the main franchises go to PS5, Xbox will still be around, just different shape. I think Xbox isn't going anywhere. I just think they're going to be more of a publisher. I don't think they're going to say, we're done, bye everybody, we bought all this property so we can leave now. I think that they're going to say, our main priority now is game distribution. I don't think they're going to be focusing on... That's why the handheld teaser is a weird one to me. This guy says they're going to shadow drop Call of Duty campaign. No, I don't think they'll do that. They'll drop campaign, 4 months of Game Pass for Ultimate subscribers. No, I don't think so, Roadkill. I don't think they shadow drop anything with Call of Duty. Call of Duty's too big to do that with. A Blade preview would be nice, even though I know it ain't happening. Yeah, that's too far away. That's too far away, Mike on the mic. Mike on the mic says, Blade preview. That's way too far away. I don't think so. I'm expecting a Doom trailer. Yeah, we got some good comments on this on the video here. 8-Bit Pro says a Gears collection and an Xbox handheld actually sounds very exciting. Xbox needs a win. For sure. And my own speculation about the handheld teaser, I was like, that just feels really, really early. You know what I mean? It just feels very, very early to be like, hey, we have a handheld coming. When? Like, I mean, if it's around the corner, Sarah Bond said they were going to have something to say or something to do with hardware this holiday. I was taking that to be the white Series X, since that was recently rated in Korea, I believe. You see reports Xbox is adding more backwards compatibility titles. Is that based on what Sarah Bond said, or is there a new development? Because I believe Sarah Bond was talking about something else. How's a handheld a win? Well, I mean, that's a good question. It would be subjective to the person, because to me, I would like a handheld. Especially if you can, like, sideload Steam on it, and if it gets better performance than the Steam Deck. Like, I didn't want a Steam Deck because a lot of the games I was interested in would run at 30, and I wanted things to run at 60, which I understand. That's a big ask. Like, that's a pretty expensive piece of equipment, right? If you expect something like that to run that well. I was hoping that they would come out with something that was like a handheld hybrid so that I could plug it into my television. And if it's like this PC thing that we've heard rumors about that you could like put Steam on, that's a win for me as a consumer. I don't know if you could argue like that's a win for Xbox as a brand, but because I don't know if the demand for handhelds like that are as high as some people are estimating. I think there is good and steady demand for handhelds, but I don't know if it's like, oh my gosh, it's knockdown, drag out. You know, they're selling like hotcakes. I think they're selling well, but I don't know if they're selling. I don't know if the shift to handheld is going to be as fast as some people are saying. I do think there's a huge market for it, especially in the cultures where people are more like gaming on the go. In like Asian culture, especially like Japan, there's more of gaming on the go culture there. They're out and about. They like that, you know, 1 in every 4 people in Japan has a Nintendo Switch. Saturation there did very well. Now Nintendo is very endemic to Japan, but still, the Steam Deck, I'm not sure how much it's sold, but the numbers they're not astronomical. They're not bad. They're good. They're good numbers. It's a good device. It has sold well. The demand was very, very healthy for it. It was hard to get one for a while there. But I don't know if there's just like massive demand for handhelds where like Xbox is going to come on to the landscape with a handheld and like take over. I think Xbox wants people to have a litany of ways to engage with them. PC, console, handheld, tablet, smart TV. I think they're trying to hit that broad spectrum. So like you think of them as ecosystem / publisher, and all you have to do is buy one of these devices and you have access to their stuff, right? I mean, but again, if someone's like, how is that a win? I mean, it's a win if you want one. It's not a win if you don't want one. Listen, if you want Xbox to double down on like a high-end console and console gaming, you are going to be continually disappointed. Like, it doesn't matter how much people want it. There's not enough people to support it anymore. They're moving away from that being a strong priority. I think the future of Xbox hardware is very, very different than it has been up to now. I don't think their primary driver is to be like, yeah, let's do another really, really crazy console. I think their next piece of hardware, their next piece of technology is going to be very different. That doesn't mean that it's bad. It's going to be bad if you were expecting another crazy, awesome console. Like, you need to adjust your expectations. I really don't think that's what their goal is anymore. They've been signaling that for quite a while, to the point that some of their biggest fans are like, I'm moving to PC, or some of them have moved to PlayStation 5. It's like you don't see the priority from them. So I don't expect that from this showcase. I expect this showcase to be quite literally a barrage of games. It's just going to be games, games, games. And I do think a portion of the games will be multi-plat games, because they're no longer concerned with... It's the difference is they're not going to use this showcase to convince you should buy an Xbox. They're going to use this showcase to convince you that you should buy Xbox games or that you should go where Game Pass is. Like, they're no longer concerned with, well, we got to get you on our hardware. The last good number I saw was 3 million for Steam Deck. I doubt all PC handhelds combined have surpassed 5 million. Yo, good morning, Kingslayer. I think it's a growing market. Kingslayer, were you previously Marcus? I just want to make sure I remember who you were, because I think you came into the Discord and that was your name, right? I'm not like throwing out I'm not dropping your government. Like, that was literally your name in YouTube. I mean, I'm probably dropping it, but not in a way that's inappropriate. Starfield and Hellblade 2 on the PS5 in 2025. Yeah, I mean, I would hazard a guess Starfield is landing next year, because what we heard was it was going to be, this is from Xbox era, it was going to be after the Shattered Space DLC. I always speculated that would be the timing. I basically said, listen, they'll spend all of 2024 getting that game to a more respectable position, and they've added 60 FPS. They've added a litany of performance modes that look an awful lot like performance modes on PlayStation first-party titles that we have not yet seen this generation for Xbox. It's the first time we've seen that. They're adding laundry lists upon laundry lists of quality of life improvements. They're setting the stage for Shattered Space. Once all that is done, I think that game's on a platter. They just kind of bring it over. I don't think that's beyond the scope of like a reasonable prediction. I think that makes sense to me. And then Hellblade 2, yeah, I could see that ported to PlayStation. It's not a very big game. There is a fairly good audience on PlayStation from the first game. It also really sort of fits PlayStation's style. They're going to have to get 60 FPS, though. I don't think you can bring a game like that to PlayStation and have it be 30 and not have people say, ew. 30 FPS has become a problem this gen, because the few games that have done it have gotten a lot of criticism, and then they prioritize bringing it later. Redfall brought it later, Plague Tale Requiem brought it later, Starfield brought it later. There's clearly a strong enough negative response to 30 FPS, which thank goodness there is, that these developers are like, okay, we'll give you 60. Hellblade 2 is already dead, 150 players on Steam. That game wasn't meant to carry a player base. That's not necessarily a stat that's alarming. It's a short 6 to 8 hour game maybe, and it wasn't meant to be like a huge player base game. I added you on PlayStation. Yeah, basically right now when I get friend requests on PlayStation, I just ignore them until we're having like a community game night. Like, I don't go through, because there's like 53 of them sitting in there right now. I just go and set myself to do not disturb, and then I play a game with my wife, or like last night I was playing Hi-Fi Rush. So if we're doing like a community game night and you need to hop in with me, I'll go and accept it. Yeah, so on the subject of the handheld, to kind of bring it back to the handheld, if they tease the handheld at this showcase, I don't think that's out of place. I just think it feels very, very early. It just feels early. It's like, okay. But again, if it's just a teaser to establish confidence in the public that, hey, Xbox is still doing stuff with hardware, and they're not just doing stuff with hardware, they're innovating. They're stepping into a new landscape. Like when Phil promised VR, and, they didn't do that, which I tell you what, everybody wants to give Phil Spencer grief about that and how Xbox didn't get VR and like Phil's a liar. Xbox is probably breathing a sigh of relief about that. VR is not easy. It is not easy. The VR games aren't selling all that well. The VR marketing is very, very minimal. Now PlayStation's like, okay, we'll sell an adapter. You can use the PSVR 2 on PC, but like not all the features. When did Starfield get 60 FPS? Right before I took, it was during my trip when I was gone. When I was gone, it got the update. So I believe it was on the Tuesday that I was gone, which would have been, wasn't it like May 14th or something? It was, or maybe it was that Friday, May 17th. It was during that week. It was during the middle of May, basically, is when they rolled that out. Because I didn't get the test run it. I wish I would have been here. I would have done a stream and not a test run it. Real gamers on PC buy VR. I don't know what that means. But okay. Can somebody purchase their partner for VR? I'm not sure. An Xbox handheld won't outdo the Switch, but it could be a PC handheld leader if we get a proper handheld version on Windows. Here's something to consider about an Xbox handheld that I just now thought of, and I hadn't considered this before. I swear I have like a fuzz that was like bumping my hand. Yo, guys, do me a quick favor and smash that like button. There's almost 700 people here. Thanks so much for a strong turnout. And make sure you guys watch those uploads in the morning. I got an upload right now, 15 minutes. I run through the leaks, the rumors, and I also run through my own predictions. It's a nice quick run through. Yeah, okay, so consider this with the handheld. If they do a gaming handheld that sort of functions as like a handheld PC, you can sideload Steam and all of that, it has the potential to have a bigger marketing push because Microsoft could start to showcase it to their audience. Like Xbox has their audience and Microsoft has their audience. And Microsoft could walk out and say, our Surface team is proud to have worked and partnered with the team over at Xbox to give to you the Xbox handheld, you know, whatever they call it. Now, the people who pay attention to Microsoft and peripherals from them are like, oh, what's that like? I play games every now and again. My kids play games every now and again. There is, I think, a future where you could see an Xbox handheld get a significant bigger market push because Microsoft could come behind it and say, this gives confidence to the public, the tech sector, the shareholders that, hey, we're building newer, better tech. Our Surface team built this thing and here's what it can do. And, the business world, the people that pay attention to Microsoft, they may play games. They may have kids or relatives or people that they know that play games. So I'm not saying Microsoft would come out and market it, but there's the possibility that they could say, hey, we need to include this in some of our presentations and some of our, like when they go to tech summits and stuff, because, hey, our Surface team worked on this thing. Microsoft Surface, remember the tablet they showed off and it bombed hard? I've had people say that the Surfaces are some of the better pieces of equipment you can get from Microsoft. I've had people say that like the Surface team has done good work. I'm just saying that Microsoft could throw more marketing behind it. I'm not tapped into Microsoft Surface tablets and how they've performed economically. I don't pay attention to that sector. But I've had people come in here and say that they're good devices. They're considered, high quality. Guys, do me a favor. I asked for it a second ago, and I think YouTube's being silly. Double check those likes. It doesn't seem to be bumping. Make sure it's working. I was doing that yesterday. I was watching a video. I hit like, I refreshed, and it didn't save it. So double check that and make sure it's saving. It's not looking like it did on my end. YouTube's been a little squirrely this week. We're not quite sure what's going on. Doesn't the entire NFL use the Microsoft Surface? Surface still sells. Bombed. It's the most important reference device in mobile PC, says Eugene. $300 with Series S specs. It would take over the PC handheld market. I don't know about take over the PC handheld market, but it could certainly go out there and get a foothold and do well. The tablet crashed during its showcase on stage. Oh, you're saying it crashed during its showcase. I misunderstood. I was like, I don't think it crashed. I thought that it did well from all the things that I've heard. I use my Surface Studio every day for art and graphic design. I love it, says Holy Star. If Valve really wants to have the Steam Deck as the Steam handheld, not sure how they feel about allowing Steam on an Xbox handheld. Yeah, I don't know about that, Victor. I don't know if they would see that as a problem. It's just more people that could potentially download and install games and buy games. Why would Xbox even release a handheld when there's a ROG Ally X dropping next month? Why would, Toshiba release TVs because Samsung does? Why would anybody release technology when other people release that same technology? Why isn't there just one laptop manufacturer? Like, do you see what you're saying? Like, you're basically acting like, well, why would they ever do this? There's another thing out there that already does this. And it's like, I mean, why would any company do that? Why would any company have a peripheral in existence? Other companies have already made the peripheral. So I don't necessarily think that's a reason for them to not do it. Yeah, Steam's on the ROG Ally, Victor. That's a good point, WGC. They allowed Steam to go on the ROG Ally. I mean, the ROG Ally is basically like a mobile PC. It's like a PC, though, so I don't know if... That's the real question, is that if they design an Xbox handheld to basically be like a PC, what's Steam going to say? No? Like, you can't install it on that version of Windows? They'd have to basically stop it. I don't even know how you would stop that. They would essentially have to be saying you can't install Steam on that thing that also runs Windows. I don't know if they would even care to try to fight that fight. Sorcerer with 36 months and a VIP says, morning, everyone. Morning, Sorcerer. Welcome back. Yeah, and I would think the same thing, Jim. I would think the same thing. Valve would want Steam on as many devices as possible. Steam is on every Windows-based handheld. Yeah, I don't think Valve has any reason to put a stop or try to get in the way of that. What time is the showcase? It is at... That's a dumb argument. Nobody made an argument. He asked a question. Walgreens bought up all the CVS stores in my area. I think he's saying there's no incentive we can think of to buy an Xbox handheld. Well, this goes back to the discussion yesterday. Just because you can't think of an incentive to buy one doesn't mean there isn't people that would. This is exactly like the discussion yesterday when I've got people on my comments right now coming to my, would PC gamers buy a PlayStation 5? And they're like, nope, no way, nobody would. And I'm like, okay, you wouldn't, but can you speak for 130 million people? Can you tell me where the 20 million PlayStation 5 owners came from that didn't own a PS4? Where'd they come from? They came from somewhere. So, same thing with an Xbox handheld. Just because you wouldn't buy one doesn't mean there aren't people that would. There's a pretty big market of people out there that like the idea of gaming on the go. They do. Now, I'm not saying the demand for these devices is insanely high, given the total number of sales for these devices is, around 5 million. But that's a pretty good start, I would think. Right? That's a pretty good start. A non-existent thing. Like, the only way that you could really game on the go prior to these devices was the Nintendo Switch, or you'd have to basically do it on your phone and buy, like, aftermarket controllers or adapters so you could have, the feel of a control, like, the buttons and the thumbsticks and everything on the side. So, so prior to these handhelds, it wasn't really even a thought in the market. There were very few people doing it. Like, if you consider the number of people doing it versus the number of people doing it now, that's not a bad start to say, oh yeah, handhelds have hit this many million of sales. It's in its infancy. It's in its infancy as a tech product, and I would say it's had a pretty good start, and the reception's been pretty good. It's not like people are buying them and saying that they're junk. How powerful would the Xbox handheld be? I don't know. I think that's the big question. That's the question for me. That might be the question for every consumer, but the question for me is, okay, well, just how strong is this thing going to be? What am I going to be able to do with it? Am I going to be able to run a bunch of indie games? But then if I want to play, like, I don't know, like an actual game like RoboQuest, a first-person shooter rogue, is it going to run at 60 FPS? Like, am I going to, you know what I mean? Am I going to be able to play games and have decent performance? My thought here is all centered around the idea of a handheld that would also be able to run Steam, or this PC hybrid that we've heard about that would also be able to run Steam. Now you're giving me a technological solution. Right now, if I want to do that, I've got a PC in my living room. I got to turn it on. I've got to make sure my wireless mouse is available. And, so I got to grab that. I got to turn it on. I got to sit down. I got to open up Steam. And then I got to hope that everything's ready to go, that I don't need new drivers for my PC or anything like that, because I don't turn it on all that often. The one that I have out in my gaming area, I don't turn on all that often. And then the one day I turned it on to set up my son, I couldn't get anything to work. Like Steam just wouldn't install stuff. I don't know what was happening. It was the weirdest thing. It would say install. I would click install and it would flash and then say play. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. That wasn't enough time. I couldn't figure out how to troubleshoot it. You know, my daughter's trying to play a game on the Xbox. I was trying to play Hellblade to get footage for the review. I told him, I said, buddy, I don't have time to troubleshoot this right now. Like, just a wonderful reminder of why I don't like PC gaming. It's like, that kind of stuff happens all the time. This isn't working, this update, this, that, and the third. And it's like, no, I'm good. I'm good. I can't get this thing to install. I did a couple quick Google searches, and nobody had a solution, because it's like, that's like, how do you search for that? It's like, it's installing, but it's not installing. I don't know what it's doing. It didn't make any sense. I went to games that were already installed, and I would click update, and it would do the same thing. It would like flash as if it downloaded the update, and it acted like it downloaded it like a millisecond. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. Internet was working. Rebooted the computer, rebooted Steam. It was like, okay, I'm good. I did all the things I know to do. So it was like, if you sell me a device that streamlines all that, and it's basically a handheld, or it's basically a console that also houses my Steam library, that's a great solution for me. That hits me where I am as a consumer, right? It does. It hits me where I am as a consumer. It's like, I don't want to fiddle with all this crap, dude. I just don't care. I want to push the button and get to the thing. I don't know about y'all, but when it comes to technology, I regress into a caveman instantaneously. I will debate philosophy with you. I'll debate existential things with you. But the minute I touch technology, it's work or I'll destroy you. Like, I don't care. I push the button, take me to the thing. And if I push the button and you don't take me to the thing, then the contract has been broken. You aren't doing your end of the bargain, and I will destroy you. That's like that. I just don't have patience for it. I don't. Why do I gotta work? Why do I have to work? I don't want to do anything. I want to push the button and then play and have leisure. It's not like, well, you got to figure this out, and you got to figure that out, and make sure you got this, and you might have to roll back, or you open it up and open up this file in a text document and change this one line to a -1. Oh, I'm out. See ya. No game's worth that. I've got better things to do with my time. You know, I've got better things to do with my time than to do that. There are people that love that. They're like, oh, my game doesn't work. All right, let's figure this out. How can I get it? That's all I want to do. Ben says, you may have me on your side on this one. Acolyte has some bright spots, but the acting and writing is straight up cheeks. I'm not kidding you, Sven. I'm not kidding you. I pulled up the show on Disney Plus. My wife looked at it, and she was like, huh? She's like, that looks like Wheel of Time. And I was like, I'm not watching this. And we went and watched Alfred Hitchcock Presents. I was like, I'm out. I'm out. I've had enough mediocre Disney Star Wars for the rest of my life. All I care about is Andor. Seriously. I don't want to hijack the show. That's what we did last night. I was like, I'm not even watching this. I already can tell I'm not going to like it. You know, I'm out. See ya. Remember Zoolander? The files are in the computer. There's an argument. That's an argument that every PC Master Race person fails to mention. The inability to just click a game and it just plays without needing a launcher to update a driver, etc. is annoying. Well, you have to understand that almost never happens to them, though. If you primarily game on PC, okay, you're not encountering what I encountered. You're not. You know everything. You've got everything up and running. All your games are automatically updating while you're sleeping or at work. Now, you have the latest drivers, right? They're never going to do what I did. I went into my living room. I turned on a PC that hadn't been on in over a year. The last time that PC was on, I turned it on to record footage. I believe it was of Modern Warfare 2, which that would have been 2 years ago. That PC has sat dormant for like a year to 2 years. So when I first turned it on, it had to download all these updates for Windows, and we just kind of sat there like, we're just like on the couch like, oh man, well, here we go. Like, PC gamers are never going to encounter that. They're just not. They're like, what are you talking about? Why didn't it work? They're like, well, yeah, you got to jiggle the thing in the back and put a 2 in the 5 and the 6 spot. And I'm like, I don't know what any of that is. I just pushed the button and stuff didn't work. Like, they're never going to encounter those problems. So when I encounter those problems, they're like, what a buffoon, what an idiot, what a moron. And it's like, I hadn't turned on a computer in 2 years. What the frick do you want from me? Like, I push a button on my controller, and it goes, bling. And I'm like, oh, sweet. Click another button, and I'm in my game. Like, that's the level of commitment that I have. That's how much I'm willing to do in order to get to the entertainment. Right? Time to watch a TV show. I pick up my remote and I go click and I go click and I'm like, I'm into the entertainment. Like, I don't turn my television on and go, hang on, babe, there's an update. Okay, the update's done. Oh wait, hang on, the update reset our settings. Okay, I got our settings back to normal. Okay, yep. Oh wait, hang on, the color's not right. Yeah, it changed that too. I don't have to do any of that. I just go click, click, I'm watching a television show. Like, that's my level of commitment to get to entertainment. Like, that's what I'm willing to do because that's what's asked of me in most situations. And I just don't engage in the PC environment enough to not almost assuredly run into those issues. I'm going to run into those issues. It's like, haven't played, I don't have any of the latest updates, I don't have any of the latest anything. So then it has to download all that stuff. And it's like, this is a great runway for entertainment. Waiting. Waiting. It's my favorite thing to do. It's my favorite thing to do. Hilly says, I think the Shadow Drop will be a game we haven't heard about. And also, there's a rumor something is happening with Starfield very soon. Over 100 Steam database changes since May. Yeah, all those Steam databases changes since May. Hilly, haven't they been like patches and stuff? I'm telling you, if they drop Shattered Space in the summer, I'm going to be shocked. I'm going to be shocked. I don't know why you wouldn't just spend the entire year updating that game, and around the fourth quarter, which is when it came out last year, around its 1 year anniversary or a little bit after, you push out this DLC. If they push it out this summer or during this event or something, I don't know, dude. That seems like that. If that happens, I will be shocked. I've consistently felt like that's coming later this year. That feels very fast for that DLC. Given the amount of changes and updates they've done just in the last 5 months, that feels pretty significant to suddenly just drop a DLC. I'd be a console fan, but they suck nowadays. Bad frame rate and resolution. What games are you referring to? I've not had any bad frame rate or resolutions with the games I play on my PS5. Except for Final Fantasy XVI's performance mode. That's the only thing that's been disappointing for me this gen. Like, what games are you playing that you don't feel like you're getting that? Hilly says, if I were Microsoft, I would bundle 12 months of Game Pass into the device, advertises free, but costs with the device. And if they can't hit a good price, it would be great. I mean, maybe. It would be really stupid to drop Shattered Space near Elden Ring and Final Shape. Yeah, I tend to agree with that. If you're dropping your DLC, now's not a great time to do that. Destiny's having their big return. All their players are coming back because it's the end of the saga. And then freaking Elden Ring's dropping a DLC end of June. Yeah, listen, if you're Starfield, I'm telling you, wait your turn, go fourth quarter. That makes the most sense to me. I think if they did it now, that just feels early. It's a huge marketing machine. Starfield is a monster. It is an absolute monster. Wasting Starfield on a shadow drop or something like that, I think would be a massive mistake. Because You got to understand something. Starfield got them the greatest amount of new Game Pass subscribers in a single day. Okay? In my opinion, that means Starfield shot its shot. That's it. It's shot its shot. That's the biggest impact it's going to have for Xbox. So suddenly dropping it on Game Pass for what? For all the people that already have Game Pass, or that already signed up, or that already have the game, or that already have played the game? No. You need to position Shattered Space as like a reason to get back into the game, or the reason to get the game, or a reason to start the game afresh. Like, that's how Shattered Space would be best leveraged. Leveraging it as a shadow drop would be so weird. It would be like, Starfield already shot its shot. It already had the huge impact on Game Pass. You're not going to be able to do that again with a DLC. And the reason I'm saying that is because if you didn't already get Game Pass for Starfield, you're not going to suddenly do it because they shadow drop a DLC. I don't think so. I don't think you can make a DLC look that good. A DLC can look pretty good and can get people pretty excited. But they already had a massive amount of influx of people saying, hey, we signed up for Game Pass just for this game. They had a huge influx. You've got to consider all the people that didn't do that. There's tons of people who didn't sign up for Game Pass or who didn't buy Starfield. I don't think shadow dropping Shattered Space on Game Pass does anything other than make people go, wait, why'd you do that? That would be confusing. You can market this and leverage this. Starfield is highly searched, highly relevant, the most talked about game in 2023, and it came out in September. It got to basically be talked about for 3/4 of the year, and it wasn't even out. You couldn't even play the game, and it was one of the most talked about games. I don't think that would be the right play. But again, they may have other plans in play. I mean, I could be wrong. But I'm here to tell you that feels like a weird play. Phantom Liberty redeemed Cyberpunk. Now it's good to play 5 years later. Well, yeah, Phantom Liberty came years later, not just like 6 months later. Not like, well, this would be like 8 months later. Phantom Liberty took years to build up to. They rebuilt entire systems. They completely changed how certain aspects of the game worked. That took a long time to get to that point. This is one of the best videos about this showcase. Well done, bro. I appreciate that. Thank you. I think it's going to be good. I'm here to tell you. I think the Xbox Showcase is going to be the biggest event of Summer Game Fest. I do. Remember, Shattered Space is paid DLC unless you upgraded to early access. So a newcomer would need to buy the game and the DLC, or sub and buy DLC. Well, right, we were entertaining the idea that they might throw it on Game Pass, right? That's what we were doing. We were entertaining the notion that, well, what if they just drop it on Game Pass as a shadow drop? You know? Liquid Smoke. Who are you debating? You said again, that's false, bro. Def said, it is still now. It plays like the game at lower resolution than upscaling to FHD and 4K, and it can't even hit 60 FPS. What game is Def talking about? I wrote I was. It was like years ago. I came back to PC Gamer and have not regretted it. Oh, did Def say what games that they were getting that were running so poorly? I'd be a console fan, too. Sucks nowadays. Bad frame rate and resolution. Did Def ever provide any games? I was playing on it, and it could even smoothly go through the menu. And he's responding to Leonidas. Leonidas says, then you're still playing on PS4. I was playing on it. Oh. It was years ago. I came back to PC Gamer, not regretting it. Oh, well, your comments make more sense now. I did the same thing during that era. During the era of the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4, I mained PC. I did. This is the thing that always cracks me up, that people are like, this guy's such a pony. It's like, I've quite literally always gone where I feel like I get the best games or the best performance. And when I was literally streaming for 8 or 9 hours a day, it made way more sense to play on my PC. Why? I wanted 60 FPS. I literally mained PC during the Xbox One era and the PlayStation 4 era. Why? Because I wanted 60 FPS. So I played Destiny all day, or I would play a game like Fortnite. And I played them both on my PC because I wanted 60 FPS. It's why I played Hellblade on PC, because I wanted the better performance. He said nowadays... Well, I mean, maybe he didn't necessarily represent his evolution as a gamer very well. He did make it sound like right now he plays on PC because of the low resolution and the bad frame rate of consoles. And that's why I was like, what the heck did you play on? Well, he answered us, PlayStation 4. So basically, the PlayStation 4 drove him to PC, and he's happy there. I respect that. I literally did the same thing. I literally stopped playing my main game on Xbox One and PlayStation 4 because I just couldn't do it. I was like, I need 60 FPS. It looks so much better. It's so much more fluid. The game feels better. It looks like it's running better. This person that said this, what's his name, Geoff? I respect that. Geoff left consoles at a time where if you wanted 60 FPS, buddy, PC was your best bet. Now you guys are understanding, if you could really put yourself in my perspective and think from my view of things, why in 2019 I was elated at the Project Scarlet marketing. When Xbox took the stage and they started talking about the Project Scarlet, I was like, finally, a console that's going to give me the performance that I want and that I get on my PC. Now do you see why I've been so angry with Xbox this generation? They pulled me back in. I was happy on my PC. I was like, this is fine. I get 60, there's tons of games, and my main game, Destiny, it runs fantastic here. Vicarious Visions did a wonderful job with, weren't they the ones that ported it? It was Vicarious, wasn't it? They ported the game to PC, didn't they? Anyways, so they pulled me back in. Project Scarlet, Xbox Series X. I'm like, oh, yes. I can sit on my couch and I can get the performance that I've been getting on my PC for years. And then they just goose egg. Just a giant goose egg this generation. Of course I'm mad. And then the other console that I bought way later, I bought the Series X first. The other console that I bought wasn't having any problem with this. It's an easy decision. It's like, I was like, well, these games are fun. They're great. I can only get them here. Oh, and I get 60 FPS. I'm a happy camper. That's all that I needed. It was like, okay, your games are awesome. I like them. They're new. They're fresh. They're exclusive. 60 FPS. New car smell. I'm good. Thank you so much. I'm a happy consumer. That's why that's why now I don't even mess with the PC. The other reason I don't mess with the PC is I'm in a completely different part of my life. It's like my PC is in here. It's in this room in the studio, and I gotta sit in this chair. I can go out there. I can lounge on my couch and just like push a button. Like, this is my posture. This is my late day dad posture. Just like, yeah, this is great. This is my favorite part of the day. Like, that's how I game now. Back then, I did all my gaming during the day on stream in the chair at the desk. So PC just fit right into that. It's sitting right there. To be fair, Destiny's really well performing on next-gen consoles. You'd enjoy it if it wasn't for the nonsense. Oh yeah, I would just play there, Eugene, of course. Of course, I would just play on console. For sure. So, I mean, this is why when they talk about... This is why when I hear these rumors of like, okay, maybe the next Xbox is a PC hybrid. Maybe the next Xbox is like a PC hybrid with a handheld. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, if you can get me pretty good performance, if I can get 60, if I can get my Steam games, if I can get a handheld that I can take with me, those are all things that would help me. Just another console from Xbox doesn't do anything for me at this point. It doesn't. They've made it clear that their games are going to start becoming day-and-day multiplats. The minute you do day-and-day multiplats, it's like, why would I even turn the thing on? And their last two big releases drove me right back into the arms of PC, Starfield and Hellblade. While watching the most poignant moment of Ghost of Tsushima. That's right. That's right, Sven. No, usually for games like that, I'm like, do you sit differently depending on the game that you're playing? Some games I'm just sitting back like this. Other games I'm like right on the edge. I'm like right on the edge of the couch. Like zoned in, you know? 90 should be the standard, not 60. You're welcome to have that opinion. I don't agree with you. The standard refresh rate across the almost entire industry of TVs and monitors, the most standard refresh rate 60. So what do you need 90 for? I feel like Lono would like a Stream Deck. A Steam Deck. You know what's funny? I probably would like it now because I am sitting here thinking about all the indie titles that I would like to play. Like Hades 2 Early Access and the litany of games on my Steam wish list that I'm like, well, I'll never play that because I can't play it in my living room. Yeah, 90. What the frick? You're basically usually debating between like 60 and 120. Why 90? That's such a weird... That's a weird number. You think 120 should be the standard? I don't think so. Why put that kind of strain on the engine or the hardware? 120, 60 is fine. 60 is like perfectly fine. Now, yes, I remember when I got used to 120, I had to readjust to 60, but like it's easier for me to capture 60 to stream it. I stream in 60, so I just readjusted. And I was like, yeah, 60 is fine. I won't argue that 120 isn't better because 120 is better. I just don't care. I don't care. I think 60 looks good enough. It's like, it's fine. I don't have to worry about any of the capture issues that I was running into. Whenever I was trying to do 120, I was always having issues with capture. It would like tear and glitch and stutter. And it's like the minute I just accepted that, like, yeah, you know what? I'm probably just gonna run it at 60. Yeah, I played Destiny 2 at 144 most of the time, and then I think I bumped it down to 120 so it would cause less capture issues. And then when I dropped it to 60, I was like, oh, all the capture issues go away. And ever since then, I've just stayed. Steam Deck OLED can hit 90. That's likely why it's being brought up. I think you're a clown. I mean, there's no reason to insult anybody deaf. I mean, did Leonidas? He said, dude, you're on PS4. Stop. Says, I played Red Dead Redemption 2 on PS4 and it was good, but not Darksiders 3. I mean, Def, I respect the fact that you ran to PC during the era that I ran to PC and you've stayed there. But to continue to talk about like the performance of games as if the PlayStation 4 is the console of the day, that doesn't make any sense. Your position doesn't make any sense. That would be like me saying, yeah, I really prefer to play on PC because, man, the performance I got on my Xbox 360, it just wasn't it. It'd be like, homie, it's 2024. Did you just wake up from a coma? Like, the PlayStation 5 is hitting great performance thresholds. It's a very consistent device with a very consistent lineup of games. Like, constantly invoking the PS4 doesn't make any sense. It's totally fine and respectable that you were like, I'm not getting what I want out of my PlayStation 4. I'm going to play on PC. I did the exact same thing. I did. 1440 is good. Most gamers play at it when they're playing competitive. PS5 walks all over the PS4. The leap is insane. I can't even imagine going back to that. That's an OBS issue. Some games look fine uncapped, but then recording or streaming on OBS, they tend to they need to be capped at 60 for some reason. It's because there's multiple things going on, Mediocre Milton. As far as I understand it, you're always having to deal with the fact that you're streaming at 60, so it needs to be easily divisible, and the fact that you're probably not maintaining a perfect 120 is causing issues, right? 120 divides down to 60 very cleanly, does it not? So the minute you're not hitting 120, it's probably causing oddities in the stream, oddities in the broadcast. That was my understanding of it when I did the research. They're like, Windows might be having a refresh issue. So if you can't maintain a steady 120, you're going to be having a divisible problem, which, 120 divided down to 60 is very clean. But if you're not getting a clean 120 all the time, you're getting a 117 or something, little dips here and there, it's going to cause issues. That was how I understood it. But if you're streaming at 60 and your game's at 60 and your game or your refresh rate periodically drops below 60, I don't think it's as noticeable. I think that causes like the micro stutters that I have sometimes, but it doesn't cause like tearing or odd, like almost like artifacting. It's like, what the heck's going on? That was what I understood from all the research that I did. So I was just like, yeah, I'm done with 120. I'm done with 120. I keep hearing about the mythical PS5 Pro, says Severin Evans. That's not been officially announced anywhere. I want to see this thing and might be a while before I can see it, which annoys me. I mean, Severin, I don't like taking checks to the bank that haven't been signed yet, I get it. I do. But listen to me now. Some of the most reliable sources are all saying the exact same thing. They've got the same stats. Insider Gaming has vetted the documents on this thing, and they're all saying fourth quarter this year. And now we've got reliable sources saying there's a PlayStation Showcase in September, which is what I continued to say. I was like, they're going to announce it in September. That sucker's coming, dude. I get it. You want them to officially announce it and show it and all of that. I get it. But they're not going to do that until it's absolutely necessary. Consoles aside, I just want good games, because what's the point of consoles with all the power and PCs if you don't have games? I mean, from my perspective, I think that the Xbox Game Showcase, I think the Xbox Showcase is going to be an absolute monsoon of games and announcements. It's going to be nothing but games the whole time. I didn't deny its existence. I just said I want to see it. Oh, I misunderstood what you said, because you called it mythical and you said it's not been officially announced. So I wasn't sure what you were trying to say. The front half of your sentence made it sound like you didn't think it was real. You called it mythical. Mythical doesn't sound like you have confidence in its existence. Because that would make it a myth. Your word choice threw me off, brother, that's all. Both Xbox and PS5 were advertised as up to 120, and that it was the standard for all PS5 games to have 60 modes. Stop the cap. Who are you talking to, Team Ambush? People lose it if Doom shows up? Oh, I think Doom's going to be there. Yeah. Guys, take a second. We're an hour into the show. Hit that like button. Let's set our sights. Let's hit 300 likes really quickly, and make sure it saves your like. Earlier it wasn't working, so double check that right now. You guys that lurk and listen, you support the show. Thank you so much for doing that. Make sure you smash like. Also, hit the subscribe button if you want to talk in my chat. If you want to join the conversation, we have great debates and discussions and back and forth here, and subscribing is totally free. Subscribing is totally free, and you guys can hit that button, hit that bell button. We are going to be covering all these live events. We're going to be co-streaming them, so make sure that you don't miss out on those as well. And we have a goal this week of 300 members. You guys are well on your way. You have 181 total for the week already, 31 members today. I already owe you 5 members. There's a 20 bomb dangling there for Agent of Chaos that has been sitting there for a minute. If anybody wants it for the taking, let's see if some of the big boys are around. And you can also just do singles and 5 bombs. And we want people to start paying for their own memberships. We'll do a big celebration if we can get that number where we want to see it. So if you've never paid for your own membership and you've been getting those gifteds, consider upgrading to Member Plus and picking up your own membership. And Mash comes in with the 5 bomb and says, let's add some more people to the mix. And he takes the number to 36. Thank you so much. What I mean is, I don't want leaks and rumors. I want to see the actual hardware and the real-world performance. Oh, okay, I understand your position now. Anything else is mythical, for sure. Now I get what you're saying, Severin. Severin, you have to understand that when you say something like the way you said it, there are people right now that think that thing doesn't exist, right? There are also people who think that the PlayStation 5 is struggling to sell and that Xboxes are selling off the shelves. They're selling out. I almost got through it without laughing. So I'm always curious, Severin, when someone's like, the mythical PS5 Pro. I'm like, what, do you believe that it's not real? Like, do you believe that PlayStation 5s are struggling to sell and the Series X's are selling out? Like, I don't know where you are on the spectrum, you know. It's hard to know. Hang on. Did he respond? Team Ambush. Team Ambush, did you respond to my question? Oh, you were talking to somebody else. Okay, Team Ambush. You were talking to Mad Dasher. What did Mad Dasher say that you were trying to push back on? I can't. Here we go. They advertised the PS5 as a 120 hertz machine, and it barely is hitting 30 FPS in the latest games. What a joke. I mean, that's not true. What you're saying isn't true. All of their first-party games have consistently hit 60 FPS. All of them. Every single one. Wonderful tech reviews, wonderful tech breakdowns. Some of them even have 120 modes. So you're literally just saying something that isn't true. I don't know why people do that. Unironically. Yes, there was literally a clip of somebody saying that. So I don't know. I don't know what people are. I don't know where people are these days. I don't know where people are. When someone says the PS5 Pro is mythical, I'm like, okay, are you one of the people that doesn't think it exists? Right? Are you one of the people that thinks the Earth is flat? Are you one of the people that thinks that like Xbox Series X's are selling out and PS5 is struggling? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't know where you are on the. I don't know where you are. Stone Spire gifts a member and takes us to 37 members on the day. Thank you so much. If I know Stone Spire, he's probably going to drop 3 more. He's the man at this, okay? He's the man. So I think that's what he's going to do. So somebody get ready. Tag team with this homie. He's super faithful. He's trying to get this to hit 40. And he's going to want somebody to do a 10 bomb. There it is, right on time. Right on time. I know this man. He is so faithful doing this. He is the man. He's got 2 more signals to go. Somebody get ready to help him. The first party devs for Sony are Space Wizards. Yeah, I don't know why anybody would say that about the PlayStation. Like, it's weird to say that about the PlayStation when it's quite literally like all you have to do is change one word in the sentence and you're describing the Xbox. Like, the Xbox talked about how up to 120 was possible, 60 was the standard output, and they're the ones that have consistently cranked out 30 FPS games. Like, I don't know why people keep saying things about a brand that the opposite is true. It's like, no, that's actually true about Xbox. Xbox is the platform that touted up to 120 standard 60 output, and then they've consistently released 30 FPS games. Like, I don't get it. Alex, tag teams with Stone Spire as Stone Spire takes it to 44. Alex drops a 5 bomb and takes us to 45. You love to see it. Thank you so much, Alex. No, it was not a troll. The guy was not trolling. It was a real comment on a podcast. He was being serious. He wasn't goofing. And MASH comes in and tag teams with Alex. Alex and MASH have been the tag team champions of the member count lately. Both of them just dropping consistent support. If you got a gifted member from Stone Spire, MASH, Alex, or anybody else today, be sure to say thank you. I currently owe you guys 10 members. Yo, it's good, Big Matt. Yeah, I've been here in a minute. Hype Train's crazy. Yeah, dude. It's been fun. Frame rate makes games better, though, if they are smoother. Oh, yeah, I for sure. I much prefer it. Much prefer it. To have my games at the 60, you know? 30 is just, it looks like a slideshow. It looks like something's going wrong with the game. It's like, it's not an exaggeration. If you get used to that and you go back, it looks like something's, it's like the game is stuttering. But aren't 90% of titles multi-plat? Why are you asking that question, Crowded House? What are you pressing on? Zubair says, I just watched the clip. Wow, I envy being able to disconnect from reality like that. Right, Zubair? Like, without drugs or anything. Just, like, completely, you know, Matrix link into some other universe, you know? That's gotta be a mind job to be like, let me just no drugs, no technological assistance. Just go into another universe where PlayStation 5 is struggling to sell and Series X's are selling out. Like, I'm going to tell you why that happens. Somebody sent a tweet, or there's a post somewhere. Somebody walked into a Target or a store and took a picture of the Xbox shelves being empty, and there were PlayStation 5s on the shelves. And then there are people that they drool over that image like it proves something. They don't understand. I'm telling you, that's probably what happened. And they don't understand what the picture actually proves. That there's a product that's actually in demand, and there's a product that's not. There's a product that's selling consistently and doing very well, and there's a product that's not. And I'm here to tell you, it's the product that's still on the shelf that they're ready to sell. That's why they have stock of it. This happens all the time. Oh, it was Costco? I told you. It happens every time. Someone goes to the store and they're like, hey, look, there's no Xboxes on the shelves and there's PlayStation 5s on the shelves. Looks like all these, actual verifiable shareholder influencing data pieces that say this game system is outselling this game system like 3-1. We're going to ignore all that. I got a picture from Costco. Oh my gosh. Okay. What they don't show you after they take the picture is that they're happy the PlayStation 5 is there because they were there to buy one. They were there to buy one. They're like, I gotta get one last jab in before I switch teams. Speaking of Costco, those shorts were sold out. I was angry as a dad bod gamer. Yeah. It's never good when they don't have your dad bod clothes in stock, What are you going to do? Listen, we're just having fun. If you like Xbox, man, I'm here for you. I'm rooting for you. I think this showcase, as I said, it's going to be the biggest event of Summer Game Fest. I think there's going to be a ton of announcements. I think you actually have a strong lineup for the rest of the year with Avowed, Stalker 2, and Indiana Jones, and maybe this surprise, shadow drop of something like Towerborn. We also are pretty confident that Shattered Space is coming this year, right? So, listen, I'm just having fun. If you take any of the stuff I say that seriously, you gotta relax. You got to. You gotta relax. I know you might be here, and you've been banned on the channel because you can't keep yourself from insulting people, so we have to put you in timeout like a child, and you think I'm some pony, but genuinely speaking, I enjoy engaging with people who like all of the platforms, and we have a good time here. We have people here who are very loyal to Xbox. I think they're running out of reasons to be loyal to Xbox, but they're loyal to Xbox, Contraband probably won't be there from what we're hearing. It sounds like it's still a ways away. Yeah, Clockwork, I don't think either. I think games like Contraband and Clockwork, I'll speak to Clockwork first. I think Clockwork is going to do the exact same thing as Fable. They put out their cinematic, and then they go quiet for a couple of years. Right? They did that with State of Decay 3. They did that with Hellblade 2. They did that with the Coalition. So I think Fable, they come out last year, and it's just basically a cinematic. It was gameplay. Yeah, sure. They come out with a cinematic. I think this year they're going to do the same thing, right? It's well, hey, Clockwork cinematic last year, this game cinematic, and then those games won't be there. They'll be dead quiet. Now, I could be wrong, but that's been the pattern with Xbox is they trot out their games, they do a cinematic announcement, and then you don't hear or see anything for a couple of years. Now, Perfect Dark, good question, Mike. Perfect Dark, we're hearing is now in fine shape. We were hearing that it was in bad shape, which was concerning to me. I love the original. I love those games from that era. And we're hearing it's in better shape. So, here's hoping that that's true. This is my perspective. You might not agree with me. I don't want to hear about the game if it's going to take longer than 2 years for me to play it. 2 years minimum, and I'm okay to hear about it. And a 5-bomb from Therapy Quantified. This guy's been dropping member bombs on the chat recently, and he drops a 55 and sets up another 20-bomb dunker, leapfrog, whatever you want to call it, a layup. 55 out of 75. Thank you, Therapy Quantified. Yeah, so I'm of the opinion that, like, okay, hey, great. If Perfect Dark is back on track, don't you dare come and tell me about it or show it to me if I can't play the game in less than 2 years. If it's going to be 2.5 or 3 years away, then just be quiet. Don't tell me anything. Don't show me anything. I don't care. I don't care. There's a Nintendo Switch 2 on the horizon. There's a PlayStation 5 Pro on the horizon. There's a ton of Xbox games coming out. There's a ton of third-party games coming out. There's the potential of a monsoon of first-party announcements from PlayStation. It's like, the last thing I need you to do is be like, hey, we're making this game. When's it coming out? 3 years, maybe. It's like, well, then you don't need to say anything to me. There are too many games coming. Hey, Lono, Therapy Quantified has a Steelers profile picture. What tier of membership do I need to get them banned? I mean, let's just take it easy, Let's just take it easy. We don't need to be that way. If somebody wants to cheer for a team of ex-convicts, that's fine. Like, that, listen, people that are out on work release have a right to work. And most of the Steelers are in that situation. So I think it's good to support those who are trying to turn their life around. So, I can see why somebody might cheer for the Steelers. Frick your team, you Pittsburgh. What kind of a city name is that anyway? I'm just kidding. I don't freaking care. But the Steelers are still trash, So I haven't watched pro football in, I don't know, half a decade. But frick your Steelers. Man from Baltimore throwing stones. I'm not from Baltimore. What? Are you talking about Zuby? Anyways. You have an awesome show here, says Kingslayer. Glad I came across this channel, this community. You guys are all amazing. I appreciate that. Pay to ban. I didn't know you could request bans on people. It's about to get wild in here. We used to do that. I used to you could time people out if you did, if you guys want to get wild, wild west, go for it. If you gift 5 members, you can time someone out for 5 minutes. I'll let you do it. It destroys chat. But it's fun. We'll do it every now and again. If you really want to stick it to somebody, it's going to cost you a 5-bomb. five gifted members, not a super chat. I want you to help out other people. No, it's got you're gifted members if you want to do that. If you want to destroy my chat, because it does. It destroys the chat log. You can't see what anybody has said if they've been timed out. It's stupid. I wish you could just time them out and they didn't remove all the things that they've said. That would make it more fun, but just like, hey, you can't talk for 5 minutes, instead of like, you can't talk for 5 minutes and everything you said in the conversation for the past hour and 23 minutes is gone, Imagine how much money Lono would make if you could donate to ban people like Zubair. No one gets to complain about convicts when you're here. Oh, that ain't my hero, Eugene. Listen, I grew up cheering for Bernie Kosar and Eric Metcalf, okay? You don't get to throw any of that in my face, all right? And a 5-bomb comes from Alex, and he takes us to 60 members on the day. Thank you so much. We have T-shirts that say Metcalf up the middle, all right? That's the era that I come from. Imagine if the 5 new members are also Steelers fans. Infinite gifting loop. That's right. Let's see here. What was one of the things that I talked about in... Oh, yeah, let's talk about this. We have not debated this yet at all. Let's stir this one up. I choose Zubair. Poor Zuby. Oh, man. See you later, Zoob. Freaking Alex. You madman. All right. Here's something that I want to know. What do you guys think about this? Okay. So Jez Corden says we're going to hear more about Project Latitude. Or he says, I want to make sure and quote him exactly correctly. Let me quote him exactly correctly. I want to be fair to Jez, all right? He's getting a lot of heat, and he's like, I've never claimed to be a journalist, all right? Let's try to be kind to people here. And a 5 bomb comes in from Lone Wolf, and he puts us as a 10 bomb away from 75. Oh, no. All right, hang on. Let me find this quote from him. I also appreciated that the leaker was like, I'm not going to tell you what the shadow drop is. I really, really liked that. Okay. All right. I'm going to directly quote him here. You choose Eugene. Eugene. Has Eugene said anything in the last couple of minutes? Oh, there he is. There's Eugene. All right. And there you go. Sorry, Eugene. 5 minutes. Okay. This is what Jez said. All right. This is the direct quote. It was in the upload. I always want to be fair to the person and what they've said, because he might have been very careful with his words here intentionally. He says, when it comes to pillar franchises like Halo, Forza, and Gears, many are wondering where they might fit in Microsoft's multi-platform push, codenamed Latitude, at the firm. We should be getting an update on that during the Xbox Showcase period as well. Okay? So here's the deal. He says Xbox Showcase period. So does he mean like just during Summer Game Fest? Like maybe they're going to be doing some interviews? What do you think about this? Do you think Xbox speaks with any clarity or specificity during the showcase about Project Latitude? Like, I basically outlined it as it could happen in one of two different ways in my video. I said it could either be the rip off the Band-Aid method, which is they're just like, yeah, we're talking about this. We're letting y'all know. This is how it's going to be. Okay? This is how it's going to go. Or do they go with the more subtle approach? I actually think the more subtle approach is more of like Xbox's. That's how they roll. I didn't turn the timer on today, so we're not switching scenes. Yeah, there we go. I think the more subtle approach, I think that's how Xbox rolls. I think they roll in a way where I like to make sure like the artwork's not like wrinkled. There we go. They like to roll in a way where they're going to be very vague in the showcase. And then they'll probably do like interviews after the fact to give specificity to why certain titles are multi-plat. That's what I think they do. Because again, Jez says during the showcase period, and Xbox, I believe, typically like the day after their events, they usually go and do like interviews and stuff, and they'll sit down with people. The showcase is Sunday, the 9th, at, is it noon? We're covering it. We're going to stream it live here. Let's see. Xbox Showcase. I'm just going to try and get the image and just put it up on the screen for you. It's June 9th at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. All right? There you go. There's your showcase. Oh, I have my camera wrong. There we go. Okay? So this Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern, I will be co-streaming this. We'll go live at like 12:30 that day. Maybe a little earlier. We'll see. But in any case, that's coming. That's what's happening. All right? Crafty with 11 months says, good afternoon, Lono and chat. Looking forward to the showcase. Highlight of the year, I hope. It'll be the biggest event of Summer Game Fest. It will. It will. I don't think it'll be the biggest event of the year. I think the Game Awards and the PlayStation Showcase stand to be bigger. I think the Game Awards is probably always going to be the biggest event of the year. I don't think you can really compete with that. So, what a strange time. No, that's when they did it last year. I know, because I have to leave church early. For real. Like, that's when they did it last year. They do it at 1 p.m. because I get home. I basically have to leave. I get home around noon. I get set up. I go live around 12:30, and then the showcase is at 1. That's when they did it last time. I think that's when they did it last time. Maybe they did it at noon last time, Eastern. I actually can't remember. I'm pretty sure it was at 1. Strange time indeed. I don't question them anymore. I think this has been a consistent time for them, has it not? Xbox Showcase 2023 time. What time is the showcase? Okay, that's last year. Here's the news from Xbox about last year's showcase. And last year's showcase landed on... Do they even have it in this? Oh, this is like everything that was announced. I'm trying to find their announcement about it. I can't find it. I'm pretty sure right here, the Xbox Showcase will stream Sunday, June 11th at 1 p.m. Eastern. Yeah, it was the exact same time last year, 1 p.m. Eastern. Yep. God understands the importance of this time. He'll understand why you're leaving church early, bro. Sven does make a point. What does Sven say? They're on Pacific time. 10 a.m. is a normal time for a showcase. Yeah, this is true. Somebody reporting that in Spain made 2024 hardware sales. He says, yes, you read that correctly. The PlayStation 4 outsold the Xbox Series consoles in May. I mean, that's just in Spain, though. I mean, it's funny, but it's just one. Come on. That's not the globe. I mean, that'd be crazy if it was the globe. Okay, we got distracted by like questions about when the showcase is. So what do you guys think? You guys are... It seemed like everybody was in agreement with me. Not everybody, but most of you were in agreement with me that Xbox will not speak with any specificity to Project Latitude during the showcase. You think they do it after. Bear says, I think me joking about paying to ban someone gets me timed out every time. You would think I would learn eventually. Yeah, you would think you would have figured that one out by now, Zuby. Sony removed the 8K claim from the PS5 box and people are only just noticing. Is it still on the back? Like in the... Because it can still do it, or do they just remove it from the box because they don't think it's needed? I wish they would have never put that on there, or at least just put it in the fine print on the side to be like, yeah, it's capable, but that's not the focus. Like, who cares about that? Xbox will have the show telling the supporters not to worry, and after the showcase, Phil will announce a full third-party move in an interview. I mean, you put LOL at the end. Why are edits being pushed to the top of the search bar? Yeah, that's the worst. When you go to do an animated GIF and it's somebody's face swap animated GIF. I hate that. Did the HDMI committee change their requirements? I'm doubtful. They quite literally just took it off the box probably because it's not needed. It's capable. And if you want to use it later for that, if you're, movies or whatever, cool. But, it was never a part of the marketing. The Xbox shows always get overrated. They get credit for third-party releases more often than not. I also think they are going to fully embrace advertising the multi-platform push. I don't know if historically I agree with you. I feel like historically Xbox was really pushing exclusives and their titles. And or at the very least, they would push Game Pass. Which I guess a lot of the stuff that landed on Game Pass, especially during the 1 year, yeah, it was mostly third party. You're not wrong. But here's the thing. I don't care about that. It doesn't matter to me. If a showcase has lots of third party, you have to understand that the general gaming audience doesn't see that and get upset. They're like, oh, cool, a bunch of great games are coming to the piece of plastic that I play video games on. That's all they see. I've said this about PlayStation. I'm saying it about Xbox. What matters is exclusives. And since Xbox can't really leverage exclusives anymore, or at least they can't leverage them how they used to, now they're going to have to leverage play it first on Xbox, right? So it wouldn't surprise me at all if they start utilizing language like that. They're going to move away from the word exclusive, but they might say something to the effect of like, play it first on Xbox, play it first on Game Pass, stressing that a lot of their bigger pieces of property coming over the next 2 years, it's coming to them first. Now, I do think there is going to be a point in time where some of their bigger developers and bigger franchises, they land day and date as a multi-platform game. But I also think you're going to see a lot of the Xbox games couched as play it first on Xbox, play it first on Game Pass. How you feeling about Silk Song since your video from 2 months ago? What did I even say in that video? What did I say? Silk Song, what's going on? I don't even remember. Oh, I said it's in the headlines. Many thought it was a bad April's Fool's joke. As it turns out, it isn't. Hollow Knight Silk Song is on the Xbox store now, mirroring... Oh, right. They added it to the store, and everybody freaked out. And everybody freaked out. They're all not approved? Whatever. I tell you what, I'm just done with this. How do you do this? There we go. I'm just turning the products off on the store. None of them are approved. We're moving anyway, so it doesn't matter. I don't think Silk Song gets shadow dropped, but I do think Silk Song is potentially coming this year. I don't like putting out that juju. If it doesn't happen, then everybody's going to be like, Reforge Gaming said, and it's like, oh my gosh. Like the other day, I think I like speculated. I threw out the possibility of like Path of Exile 2 not getting split screen on Xbox, and then like 10 seconds later I said somebody might push back and say that Diablo pulled it off, and I said yeah, possibly, and then it got turned into that I was spreading misinformation. I had people yelling at me on Twitter over the weekend. I was like, what are y'all talking about? I never told anybody definitively. I did not put out bad information. I speculated. Like, you can speculate now, and people are like, well, so-and-so said that Silk Song's coming out in this month. And it's like, no. You can speculate that, like, yeah, I could see Silk Song finally landing this year and, maybe around the holidays. And then somebody's going to be like, look at this idiot. He thought Silk Song was coming out on the holidays. It's like, Jiminy frickin' Christmas. I do think that Silk Song is likely very close to coming out, though. It got added to the store, and didn't it recently get rated? If it got rated, that was the problem with it landing in the store, is it had a rating. It had an ESRB rating, but there's no evidence that it's been rated. Once a game has been rated, it's in a playable state. So they've played through it and they give it a rating. People are saying that Astrobot's looking like it's going to be a $60 title. I really don't think it was going to be a 70. I thought it was going to be 50 or 60. Is PoE 2 going to PlayStation Early Access? Yes. I thought PlayStation didn't allow early access games. I don't know if anybody's ever said they don't allow early access games. I don't think they have a habit of doing that. I don't think they have a pattern of doing that. Is there a possibility of Alan Wake 2 DLC? Yeah, I don't know. I haven't heard anything about it. I've not seen any rumblings about that. Concord listed in Australia at What? $60. Oh, $40 US. Yeah. Yeah. Taking My Thunder. Yeah, Fuzzy just put it in. Yeah. That gives a change to the game. Yeah, I told you guys Concord was not going to be a full price game. I was like, it'll be $40 like Helldivers. They'd be out of their head if they tried to charge full price for that freaking game. It's just PvP. If Helldivers 2 gets more support on Xbox, I'm done. I'm not sure what you mean. Do you mean if it like comes to Xbox? I don't have a habit of doing it, but sometimes they might just surprise you. Yeah, I don't know if PlayStation's ever come out and definitively said that, like, well, we don't do early access. I just don't think they have a habit of doing it. I think it's time for companies to become more comfortable with early access. I think early access is something that I support and I think is good for both developer and consumer. I support it. I think it's a good thing to do. If you know what you're signing up for, if you know what you're supporting, if it is in fact something that they charge money for, but you know it's early access, that doesn't bother me at all. I'm fine with it. I think the consumer gets an opportunity to see a game in its early stages and potentially give good input to fix things or make things better, and the developer gets to avoid making big foundational mistakes. We thought everybody was going to love this. Everybody hated it. Well, it's a good thing we did early access. Cut that out. That would have affected the entire game. I think games are becoming too big and too complex. I don't think you can do really big long tail games and run that gamut and that risk anymore. I think like single player narrative driven games, it's easier to sort of, play safe bets. And you're like, okay, we think we're pretty confident people will enjoy this or will enjoy that or the third. But if you're talking about an ongoing game, if you're talking about like a long tail RPG, something that's really, really massive and it's got all this complexity to it, I'm telling you, man, I think early access is the way to go. They may know their audience won't be comfortable with early access experience. Are people going to complain that only half the game is there? That half the art is just placeholders? Beta testing is a job? Yeah, we're not talking about beta testing. That's a gross misrepresentation of what early access is. Beta testing is like when you go into an environment that is basically designed for you to test for bugs and glitches. Early access is not that. That's a gross misrepresentation. Like Baldur's Gate 3 in early access, or Hades in early access, or Hades 2 right now in early access. You're not beta testing. You're not. Like, beta testing is far more crude and far more like, when we get a beta in the public right now, it's not a beta. It's like you're basically playing a demo. You're stress testing servers. You're playing what is largely a complete product. Actual beta testing that people do internally for QA teams, homie, you are absolutely not doing that when you play early access. You have a far more complete product. I don't know if we've seen an example of that. It has to be a lot more polished and a lot more complete, or people would be like, what is this trash? Like, true, genuine beta testing is not what we do as consumers when we play a beta. They just use the word beta because, like, it's a gamer colloquialism that we understand. It's not a beta. If the game's coming out a month later, you're not playing a beta. You're not. You're helping catch last-minute bugs and stress testing servers. Like, that's all you're doing. I heard Xbox might be shutting down. Is this true? No. Who said that? Why would they shut down? I think they're going to just switch their value proposition to the public is just changing. I think they're just shifting in how they put their content out there, how they put their games out there. They're not shutting down. Microsoft spent way too much money to bolster them and to prop them up as a publisher, as an ecosystem, as a good integration for cloud. Like, there's no way. There's no way. I could see aspects of what they used to do fading. Like, I don't think they're going to be doing like traditional consoles anymore. I think they're done with that. But I don't think they're done in the gaming space, not by a long shot. I had a bud who was a beta tester. He said it was incredibly boring. They don't actually play the game. Right, that's what I'm saying. Like, calling early access beta testing is a giant misrepresentation of what early access is. If somebody actually put out their product in early access and it was genuinely you beta testing, it would be a disaster. People would say, what am I doing here? This product's not even remotely playable. I don't know, I think I heard it somewhere. I was going to make the switch from PlayStation. Wait, where did you hear that Xbox was shutting down? And you were going to switch from PlayStation to Xbox or to PC? What were you going to do as a consumer? Hades 2 second update tweaks major core combat mechanics. Yeah, they've already done a major update to Hades 2 in early access. I don't know if I'm considered a beta tester. This is why I play early access. They just bought a publisher for $70 billion. They aren't shutting down anything. Listen, if you think you're going to be coming to Xbox in 3 or 4 years and buying like a traditional console and they're like trying to compete with the PlayStation 6, no, I don't think they're doing that anymore. They're going to have hardware, but they're not going to be doing the traditional console battle. That ship has sailed. It's over. They're not interested in that anymore. They lost for 20 years. They're done losing that fight. They're going to take a completely different approach. They're going to take a different approach to hardware. They're taking a different approach to game ownership. They're going to function far more as a publisher, and they're going to look more like an ecosystem than like a platform that you go to. You're going to switch from PlayStation to Xbox, but I heard Xbox doesn't hit a certain target, they'll dip. Oh, okay, yeah. I think that was during the FTC trial, and I think that largely got overstated when Phil Spencer was like, yeah, if we fall below these targets, we wouldn't be in the business. I think he was speaking sort of like, yeah, these targets are, if we're not close to this, then we would leave the business, right? And I don't necessarily think he was like rigidly saying, like, if we don't hit our Game Pass subscriber goals, we're out. I think they were probably thinking more generically about like MAU, because they've been stressing that a lot lately, especially now that they have Call of Duty and in addition to Minecraft. I think they're going to start tabulating MAU, which is monthly active users, and they're going to start including things like Call of Duty. So that way they can go to the shareholders and say, listen, these are the number of people logging in every single month to Xbox property. This is why I think they're more interested in multi-plat releases. They're more interested in putting games in more places so they can say, hey, we've reached the thresholds we want to reach. I don't think they're ever going to hit the thresholds of Game Pass that they were hoping to hit because sub-services are plateauing. The gold rush for subscription is over, and so I don't think Game Pass will be essential. Like, I've had Doc Dark on the show a number of times, and Doc Dark put out a video about like what he wants from the showcase, and he was like, they need to double down on Game Pass, make it all about Game Pass. And I'm like, I don't think that's happening anymore, Doc. I don't think that's happening. I do not think they're going to be, Game Pass will certainly be a part of the showcase and it'll be mentioned, but they're not going to like double down on Game Pass. That's not, I don't think that's the path forward. If the CFO says, and Doc said, if you start to devalue Game Pass, he's like, you're not going to get that $15 a month from me. And I'm like, brother, I hate to break it to you, but that's not a very strong bargaining chip. Like, you're not really threatening them with anything. What are you going to do? You're not going to give them their $15 a month. Okay. You're on PC, right? Okay. Well, are you going to stop buying their property too? You're not going to buy any of their games? You're not going to buy Call of Duty? Is there somebody in your house that's going to buy Call of Duty? Like, do you see what I'm saying? It's like, well, I'm not going to give you my $15 a month anymore. Well, the CFO said late last year they were going to move into high margin markets. They don't care about that. They're trying to sell games at a high margin. They don't care if you cancel your Game Pass. Why would they care about that? Like, they're not going to celebrate it, but that's not a bargaining chip. Like, what are you going to... Oh, yeah, I'm not going to give you $15 a month anymore. And they're sitting there holding all this property, and they're like, are you not going to buy any of our games, too? Are you not going to buy Call of Duty? You're not going to buy Avowed? You're not going to buy Indiana Jones? You sure about that? You sure about that? We own a lot of stuff. You're not going to spend any more money in Diablo? Can you really stay away? Can you really stay away from everything that we own? Can you really stop giving us money? Is it possible? Like, you don't have that strong of a bargaining chip. Now, if you say, oh, but that's annual. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. But all it takes is a couple of games and you're right back to that annual spend. So at $15 a month, you're spending $180. All right? You have to buy, if you buy 3 full price games in a year that are owned by them, they're good. They're good. They did just fine. They got you. They still got you. All you got to do is spend that amount of money in a year on property that they own. Now you might say, "Oh, but if you do it through PlayStation, Switch, or Steam, they only get 70%." That's true. That's true. But then you are quite literally still buying their property and still giving them money. Does he mean he's just going to get rid of most of his library? That's a point I've made before, is like, look, man, you're not building a library. You're not. My wife is building a library out here for our kids. She gets classic books. She loves old books. She loves Thornton Burgess. She really likes his books, right? So she's building a library for our children. All right. And if the libraries that she likes to go to with our children shut down, or she, for whatever reason, terminates her membership to those libraries, she still has a library here at the house. But if you don't own a single book, if you don't have any semblance of a library in your home, and you go to the library with your library card, and you're like, you know what? I'm cutting this up in front of you. I'm done. Not coming back. It's like, okay, you're just losing access to this library that was never yours. It was never your library. They're not your books. They're not your games. Do you see, like, do you think you've got a bargaining chip? You think you've got power in that relationship? That you've been spending this money to have this massive library that you don't own? And you're like, well, yeah, I'm going to stop spending that money. And they're like, okay. You don't get this library anymore. You don't get access to this library anymore. Where's your library? Have you been buying games? So I don't think it's a strong bargaining chip. If you do that, they still have a massive amount of property that you could potentially spend money by buying the game, or even if you play one of their, like Warzone. If you play Warzone and you're spending money in the micro store, they're making money off of you. If you put Minecraft, any of those games, any of those giant live service games that are ongoing that you could spend money in. The problem is you have to be hooked up to the internet to even play them games. I can't even download the games I have on disc for some reason. I'm not sure what you're trying to do exactly. Guillermo del Toro talked about this exact same thing with film DVDs versus what you consume online. Oh, or for sure. That's a whole other subject. The point that I'm making is that, let me go back to what I was originally saying about like predictions about the showcase. Doc was basically like, they better double down. They better heavily focus on Game Pass. And this is my prediction. I don't know what y'all's predictions are. I don't think there's going to be this big, giant, heavy focus on Game Pass. I don't. I really don't. I don't think so. I think Game Pass is there. I think it's mentioned, but I don't think it's the focal point anymore. I do not think it's the focal point. I don't think it's going to have this big, giant name and lights, classification any longer. The idea that like, well, they better really make Game Pass. They better make me as a Game Pass subscriber. They better make me a priority. And it's like, I don't think they're going to do that. I don't think they have a reason to do that. think of it from this perspective. Let me talk about this in a completely different way. They've already got you. If you've been on Game Pass for an extended amount of time, to a certain degree, they have you. They have you. It's going to be really hard for you to let go of that. You use it every month. Maybe you've got kiddos that use it every month. Listen, I barely turned my Series X on, but I still haven't canceled Game Pass. Why? Because they got me. They totally got me. My daughter is playing Little Kitty Big City. All right? They got me. My kiddos get to try games out on Game Pass. They got me. It's really hard to get rid of something like that. The value is so good. But here's the other side of the coin. People that are not compelled right now by Game Pass are not suddenly going to be compelled by Game Pass. They have plateaued. And because they have plateaued, I don't think they'll make it a big focal point. Why? Why? All they have to do is make mention of it. If they make mention of it, people like me, cool, man. Games are going to keep coming to Game Pass. Great, sweet, awesome. I'm good. Okay. Somebody who's presently not on Game Pass. By now, they would if they were going to. They would. Now, Black Ops 6 I think will move some people. That's a pretty big game to throw on Game Pass. That's a pretty big game to throw on Game Pass. All right? But I still don't think they use their showcase to stress Game Pass. Here's the tension that you have to consider that Xbox is now facing. And this is going to be really interesting to see how they do this, okay? It's going to be really interesting to see how they thread this needle. They have to talk to the guy that owns a PlayStation. And they have to make sure that he doesn't feel stiff-armed or devalued by the fact that the game they're promoting is coming to Game Pass. If you announce Doom and you drench it in all this fanfare about Game Pass, Game Pass, Game Pass, Game Pass, the guy on PlayStation might say, what the frick? What, do you value me as a consumer at all? I feel like I'm being kind of stiff-armed here. There's a tension there. You're trying to go out here and court people who are not on your platform, people that you want to buy Black Ops 6, people that you want to buy Doom. And if you overemphasize the fact that these games are hitting Game Pass, you're going to potentially cause a disruption of that value proposition to that potential consumer. Do you see? It's like this is new territory for Xbox. How do you straddle that fence? How do you straddle that fence? You got to make sure both gamers feel valued, because Microsoft stands to make a ton of money on Black Ops 6. They stand to make good money on Doom when they sell it on PlayStation 5. They stand to make good money. As the CFO said, that's a high margin market. People buying games is good for them. You got to be real careful, because you don't want these people over here to feel like they're second class. Like, I'm not buying that freaking game. That's a Game Pass game. That's a Game Pass game. It's got that Game Pass stink on it. I'm not saying that. I'm saying there are consumers that might. I think the value is I don't have to buy an Xbox. That's $500 more on games I have to spend. The FOMO of PS5 players will win. What FOMO? What are you talking about? Oh, the fact that they don't want to miss out and they'll buy the game. Is that what you're saying? Zubair says, I don't think the guy on PlayStation cares. He already passed on the option to get on the platform to get on Game Pass. I don't know. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. The average PlayStation owner might not give a crap. But listen, you have to understand, if Xbox wants to come out and start speaking to a broader audience, they're not just talking to Xbox loyal, they're not just talking to people who love Xbox, they're trying to talk to everybody else. They cannot overemphasize Game Pass. If Game Pass gets too interwoven to the identity of these games, I think it can hurt sales. I do. And I think from a priority standpoint, I think they're more concerned with sales now than getting people to hear that it's on Game Pass. Oh, Game Pass, Game Pass, Game Pass. Like, I mean that. I think they're far more focused on selling the games. Like, that priority is the larger priority for them now. That priority is higher which means you don't want to distract from that. You don't want to pull attention away from the fact that, like, yo, Doom is awesome. Here's Doom's release date. Here's the pre-order bonuses. Here's the game's, price point. All those things. I don't think they usually talk about price point, but I do think they typically talk about pre-order bonuses during showcases. So, like, do you see what I'm saying? I feel like you can really, really corrupt that messaging by being like, Game Pass, Game Pass, Game Pass. And it's like, oh, that's a Game Pass game. No. It's coming to your platform. You can buy it. You have to understand something. They've spent years marketing their games and their platform as being directly and intrinsically linked and hitched to Game Pass. That's a Game Pass game. That's hitting Game Pass. Play it day and date on Game Pass. All those phrases, all those things that they spend years in marketing, rooms with cigarette smoke hanging above them. They're like, what if we said this? Like, all of that's been used to make people think of Xbox titles in this way. And I think you got to break that mold and say, no. You want this game. This game's coming to your platform. You can buy this game. Because you got to understand, if Microsoft is in the room, if Microsoft is now saying we need to sell games, make sure these games are available on all platforms, that's going to naturally deprioritize the emphasis of Game Pass. They're focused on monthly users, not sales. Not anymore, they're not. No. You will focus on monthly users for your live service games, sure, Ziggy. But no, I think Microsoft kicked that door square in and said, listen, we're selling software, so you better get these games ready for other platforms. When the CFO says, you're going to see a bit of a change of strategy, we're going to start taking our first-party property to platforms that were, very important line here, very important line, we're going to take them to platforms that were previously considered competitors. That right there tells me you're not going to walk out and say, you're not going to be beating people over the head with Game Pass. I don't think I don't think so. I think Microsoft you're going to see a direct impact of Microsoft's influence at this showcase. It's all about subscribers? No, it's not. All reports have shown that subscribers have slowed down and plateaued. Phil Spencer told the Brazilian regulators they have plateaued with their subscriber count on Xbox console. They do see room for opportunity for Xbox Game Pass on PC as well as the Asian market. But I do not think that's the center focus of a showcase like this. You know what the center focus of the showcase is? Games. Games, gameplay, release date. Games, gameplay, release date. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. And you're like, yo, I'm going to play that game. That game looks hot. But if they're like, Game Pass, Game Pass, Game Pass, you're going to make a lot of people say, oh, that's a Game Pass game. You might passively make somebody think that it's not even a game for them if you stress Game Pass too much. It's about MAU and sales, not subs. Don't confuse MAU with subs. That's true. MAU, they are concerned with. Primarily MAU, you really want to see that with live service games like Call of Duty and Minecraft, for sure. But MAU in general, I think they want to see. I think they'll count you as an MAU when you're playing Doom. You're playing their property in that month. Fallout Season 2 is still in early development, but will be out as fast as humanly possible. We are going as fast as we possibly can, and we've got a lot of heavy lifting from Season 1 already done. Right, yeah, you've already got costume design done, casting work done, you've got sets that have been built, armor and props that have been built. Yeah, they've done a lot of heavy lifting. Special effects, assets have already been built. I bet 90% of the showcase will be on Game Pass. Okay, hang on. You might be misunderstanding me, 187. You might be misunderstanding me. I think everything's coming to Game Pass from the showcase if it's a first-party title. If it's a first-party title, it's coming to Game Pass. I'm simply saying it will not be stressed as strongly as it has been in the past. Do you see what I'm saying? Yes, every single one of these games is coming to Game Pass if it's a first-party title. I have zero doubts about that. The minute they confirmed Black Ops 6 is coming to Game Pass day and date, I was like, well, then they're going to maintain status quo for first-party. But, track with me here. Why do you think they announced Black Ops 6 coming to Game Pass day and date before the showcase, before the Black Ops 6 event. Why? I don't think they want it to be the focal point of these events. I don't think they want it to be the focal point of these events. That's why they announced Black Ops 6 coming to Game Pass ahead of time. I think that lines up with my theory that they're like, no, we got to downplay that. There's a much larger audience that we're speaking to. There's a much larger audience that we're speaking to. We cannot stress that now. It'll be a distraction. 90% of the showcase will be on Game Pass, but 90% of the showcase will not be about Game Pass. I think that's well stated, Zubair. Yes. It'll be there for every title at the end screen. It'll say, play it day one on Game Pass. It'll be there every time. But in times past, I feel like that was like such a strong value proposition from Xbox of like, they're practically beating you over the head with it. I think that is significantly diminished at this showcase. That's what I think. Feeling bad for Kana. They're already saying they will wait for it to come to Game Pass. Yeah, I mean, that's a bummer for the studio behind that is Ember Labs, correct? That's Ember Labs, isn't it? I don't think Ember Labs is in any danger. I think that game did well. I think it was received well. What kind of a score did it get? I think they're probably okay. I don't think they're a very large studio. It got an 81 on Metacritic. That's probably Ember Lab. Sorry. Ember Lab's employee count. It says here somewhere between 11 to 50 employees. They're probably fine. That game being hitched to PlayStation and how many people probably saw it, bought it, played it, and now it's coming to another platform. They're not a very big studio. So they're probably fine. They probably made more than enough money. It was on PC and PS4 already. Xbox port probably didn't cost much. Yeah, that's a good point. Kana has hit a pretty broad audience, and they're a very small studio, so they've probably done just fine. It's actually a very good game. That's one I've kind of intended to go back and play. Like, my daughter played it, and it got a little too hard for her. My son tried it, same deal. And so they both walked away. My daughter really does not like games with fighting in it. She was playing Chia, and later in the game of Chia, it starts to lean a little bit heavy on combat, and she was like, I'm out. Let those people continue to cannibalize their ecosystem. That's what I'm saying. Who cares? All right. Here's the deal. It's noon. Usually around this time we go to Writer's Room. I'll let us chill for a little bit. I'm going to give you guys a gauntlet, okay? I'm going to give you a gauntlet. If you guys can get this to 100, I'll reward you. I'll do a 50 bomb instead of a 20 bomb. Let's do it. Let's scramble. You guys need 300 by the end of the week. I've been throwing down these gauntlets and saying, let's see how fast you can do this. I'm going to schedule Writer's Room. You're going to have 15 minutes to do this, all right? You're going to have 15 minutes. And you guys are basically going to have locked up the incentive. I have to go back into Lies of P on Friday night if you guys can get 300 members before Friday. And you're well on your way, and we haven't even done any of the big events yet. Let's see here. Schedule Writer's Room. And I do set these Writer's Rooms. You should not be getting notifications when they get scheduled. You should only be getting notification as a member for Writer's Room when we go live. We try to limit the number of notifications you get because YouTube can get a little wonky. Like, they were sending notifications for practically everything for a while there. Okay, let's see. Members only. Okay. There we go. All right. I'm going to set a redirect. There we go. All right, you got 15 minutes. I suggest Rolling Hills for your daughter on Game Pass. Landed yesterday, super fun. She's not yet done with Little Kitty Big City. I think that's the name of it. How much more do we need to get to Lies of P? Currently, you are at 151 plus 65. You're at 216. You only need 300. You're 84 away from Lies of P. And then you can obviously go for stretch goals for the rest of the week, because you guys are going to hit that goal really fast. You're practically there right now. And I'm going to my gifteds don't count. That wouldn't be fair, right? Because I'm always gifting in response to the gifting of the community. But I said I'll do a 50 bomb if you guys can hit 100 members today. I'm like, hey, I'll give you 15 minutes. If you guys can get 35 more, I'll drop a 50, and then we'll celebrate by bringing all these new members with us to the writer's room. That's been something really fun that we've been doing. I wonder if Xbox will have a lot of paid exclusive COD content to make up for being on Game Pass. I mean, there's a handful of ways they could approach that. I definitely think that Call of Duty in general, you're talking about an annual release. They make a ton of money on those sales, and they're basically giving 25 million people, well, they're giving more than that because a ton of people can sign up for it. They're giving every single Xbox owner and every single PC owner the opportunity to basically play that game for $11 if they only take the first month. Abe helps us get closer and gets us to 70 members on the day with a 5 bomb. Thank you so much, Abe. And 70 out of 75. Appreciate you, dude. I don't know if they're suddenly going to be like, let's just inject Black Ops 6 with a bunch of microtransactions. What I would think that they would probably do is you might be right. They might. The first thing my mind thought of was like they'll have like different editions, and they'll have like different things you can get. So they get you in there on Game Pass, and then they got all this other stuff that you can buy. And Lone Wolf gets us to 75. Thank you so much for 75 members, guys. You guys have been killing it lately. Thank you so much. Abe says at the member showcase, let's keep this showcase going. We're just using the word showcase for everything now. Showcase. And Detective Seeds drops a 10 bomb and takes us to 85 out of 100. I should have set a bigger goal for the 50 bomb. I made it too easy. I made it too easy on you guys. Thank you so much, Detective Seeds. We're now at 85 out of 100. You guys are so kind to this community. I appreciate it very, very much. What did Zubair say? Blue Arrow says he's agreeing with Zubair. This info will trickle down. It'll end up in screenshots and YouTube videos. Casuals and normies aren't even going to watch or know what this showcase is. They can just play it on Game Pass day one as many times as they like. I actually think these showcases get watched by a lot of what you call normies. The viewership on these showcases is too high for it to just be like hyper-connected hardcore players, if that makes sense. By the way, guys, do me a favor. As we typically round out the day and then head to the writer's room, make sure you have pressed the like button. Let's set our sights on 400 likes. We appreciate you guys so much. Detective Seed says, people won't believe market analysis on console sales, but damn it, if one Costco is sold out, well, that's credible data, baby. It was Costco? Yeah, somebody said that in chat, Eugene. I said, I didn't even know that was what happened. I literally did not know that that's what happened. I just theorized. I was like, I'm going to bet you $10 that this dude saw a picture from like Target and there were PlayStation 5s available and all the Xboxes were gone. Not realizing what that actually represents 4 years into these consoles. It means one of those products is in demand and the other isn't. But Series X's are flying off the shelves. They're lined up around the block. PS5s are struggling to sell, dude. Xbox Series X are flying off. I think I said that wrong. Did I say that wrong? Yeah, Series X's are flying off the shelves and the PS5s are hard to sell. Okay. It was a Costco. Yeah, I just guessed. I was like, yeah. You know, I had people in my comments this morning saying, aren't you the idiot that used Twitter polls to make your argument? And I'm like, oh, great. All the data I broke down, all the stats, all the official reports, all the sales info. We're going to ignore all of that, and you're going to cherry pick the fact that I included Tom Warren's Twitter polls. Got it. Sounds like another brilliant intellectual breakdowns out there in the ether. Awesome. Yeah. Like, I literally say in the video, I'm like, these polls from Tom Warren are not scientific. I'm just going to start here to show a general willingness that there are people that will switch. And then I moved to actual hard data. We'll ignore the hard data. You use Twitter polls. Lol. Oh my gosh. One of those products isn't worth the cash to keep on the shelves. Right? 4 years into the life cycle of the console, and you don't understand that that picture from Costco represents the exact opposite of what you're arguing. Like, you don't get it. You don't understand. So I heard you use Twitter polls to prove your point. Anybody out there claiming that I used Twitter polls to prove my point is a liar. They're lying. I did not use the Twitter polls to prove my point. The Twitter polls were quite literally a springboard into the hard evidence. Are these polls do these polls represent a willingness? I don't know. I think it does. Well, that's just my opinion. Let's look at the actual data. So if anybody's out there making videos or tweets or claiming that I argued my point and proved my point with Twitter polls, they're just lying. They're just a liar. There's no reason for me to even lobby a defense. Go watch the video. It's full of hard data, and I literally said this just represents in my mind a willingness to potentially buy a PlayStation 5. Anybody that's not engaging with what I actually said, they're just shadowboxing because they're too weak to get in the ring with what I actually said. That's the facts. If you're too weak to get in the ring with what I actually said and you want to cherry pick the fact that I referenced Twitter polls, that's fine. You can shadowbox all you want. That's your choice. That's your choice. You want to do that? You know, I don't even know where this is. I just had somebody leave a remark and they're like, "Oh, you're the guy that argued with Twitter polls." And I'm like, "Oh, there it is. There it is. The cherry pick has happened." Got it. Got it. Awesome. Bunch of professional shadow boxers out here. Yo, what's good, Von Raz? The Alters exclusive demo is available to play from June 10th to the 17th. Oh, is it? It's on Steam. I said the first time I saw that Alters trailer, I thought that game looked dope. All right, you guys have 7 minutes. You have 7 minutes. If this hits 100, I'm dropping a 50 bomb, and then we're going to Writer's Room. You got 7 minutes before we go to Writer's Room. You have a PS5 and a Series S. You're looking to trade up to a Series X. Why? Why would you do that? What do you want a Series X for? I'm genuinely curious. I have a Series X. I can't imagine doing that right now. They haven't done anything to make the Series X worth it. They haven't launched a single game that leverages its power outside of Forza Horizon 5. I mean, Starfield got its update, so I guess you could argue that that's why. Do me a favor, in one of your uploads, include a Twitter poll as proof that Twitter polls exist and see what happens. You were wrong on the minimum requirement for the PlayStation games on PC. I was wrong. When did I talk about the minimum requirement of PlayStation games on PC? When I made an offhanded remark and said that some of these rigs aren't even strong enough to play the PlayStation games. I didn't cite a stat. I didn't cite a percentage. I simply said there are people in the mix on Steam whose their rigs are too weak to even play the PlayStation ports. That's a fact. That's true. If you go look at the Steam reports, there are people. I know this is shocking. There's 130 something million people on Steam. There are a percentage of those people who don't even have rigs strong enough to play a PlayStation port. That's true. I didn't say the number. I simply said there are people in the mix that couldn't even play these games. Lono knows better than to talk PC specs. We won't let him. Yeah, I stayed very generic. I didn't try to get specific about what was stronger or what wasn't. I just said, here was my crude math of what are all the 30 and 40 series cards representing? Then I referenced what Nib said. I said, let's just land somewhere in the middle. Roughly 30% of this user base isn't going to be interested in a PS5 because their rigs are too strong. Everybody below, there's an increased likelihood that they would consider it. You think all 130 million people on Steam can play PlayStation ports? Ida Crow, go ahead and tell me. It shouldn't be hard. If I was wrong about the minimum requirements for PlayStation games on PC, tell me what I said that was wrong. It shouldn't be that hard. It should be very easy to falsify anything I said because I was very generic. I didn't draw any rigid lines. I didn't draw any hard, rigid lines. I simply said, these are the rough percentages of people who might consider this, who might find this to be appealing. And I think that means the strategy is sound. That's the crux of that video. And if you got to run to the fact that I referenced Twitter polls, again, you're just shadowboxing. That wasn't the crux of my argument at all. I said why before. I've said why before, Lono. UI controller, existing library are valid reasons to stay with Xbox or now upgrading from an S to an X. Virtually all third-party games will run better. I mean, that's true. That's certainly true, Lone Wolf. Most PlayStation games can run on a 1080 and 8 gigs of RAM. Oh, okay. Most PlayStation games can run on a 1080 and 8 gigs of RAM. And you think those are going to run well. That's going to be a game that runs well. You're proving my point. I didn't even give a percentage. I didn't even say that a bunch of these people couldn't even play these games. I said there's even people in the mix who couldn't play these games. They would fall below the minimum requirements. I swear, people are so desperate to make it seem like I don't know what I'm talking about. That, like, if you're going to drill down on that offhanded remark that I made about, like, some of these people don't even have rigs strong enough to play PlayStation games, and you're going to be like, well, here's all the people that could play a PlayStation game because they have a 1080 and 8 gigs of RAM. Do you honestly think you're falsifying my idea or my claim that these people wouldn't play that game and think that, like, I might get better performance on a $500 machine that is a console? You're literally proving my point. If people have to run to that part of the video, good golly, you're starving. You are starving if you've got to run to that part of the video. It's an offhanded remark. It's not even part of my argument. $8 GB of RAM with Windows 11 will not start the game. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you have to run to that offhanded remark that I made about the fact that, like, some of these people can't even play these games because they fall below, like, the minimum memory requirements, and you're going to say, like, ooh, look at this idiot. He doesn't know what he's talking about. It was an offhanded remark. It wasn't. I didn't run the numbers. I didn't run the stats. I didn't claim the number of people who couldn't play PlayStation games. Good golly, are you starving and shadow boxing if you've got to run to that comment in the video? Desperate, very desperate, if that's what you've got to run to in my video. I walk through all those stats. And simply argue that there is a significant percentage of people in the Steam user base that will play PlayStation games beneath the performance of the PlayStation 5 and may consider buying one. And then we looked at the fact that 1/3 of the PlayStation 5s are owned by people who don't have PlayStation 4s prior to that, meaning 20 million people came from somewhere. They either came from Xbox, or it's their first console, or some of them came from PC. And these PC guys can't stand that might be a reality, so you're going to cherry pick parts of my video. He used Twitter polls. Well, he said that some of these people can't even run these games. Well, you could run most of these games on a 1080 with 8 gig. You quite literally are kicking the ball in your own goal if you think that's arguing against the idea that a percentage of the PC user base might consider buying a PlayStation 5 because they can run a PlayStation game on a 1080 with 8 gig. You are starving. And ironically enough, you don't know what you're talking about if you think that is a potent point. That is dumb. 1080 card and 8 gigs of RAM gets you PS4 level performance on Ghost. Right, you're proving my point. You're proving my point. You can barely play the game. You're playing it at like old gen terrible performance. Good Lord. Desperate. Absolutely desperate. You know what I like? I like that that's what people have to do. I take it as a compliment. I do. I take it as a compliment. You got to cherry pick and go to weird, offhanded remarks. Don't engage with any of the data. Don't engage with any of the stats. Talk about how I used a Twitter poll. And talk about how I offhandedly said some of these people would fall below minimum requirements. Yeah. I take that as a compliment. That's what you've got to stoop to. That's perfect. I'm glad that that's happening. I celebrate that. Oh, gosh. Oh, we went past. All right. You guys missed it. You missed it. We needed 15 more, and I was going to drop a 50 bomb. We started debating. At that point, it's a slideshow, but at least you can play the game. I think it's hysterical that somebody thinks that's a potent point. They think they're arguing that PC users would never buy a PS5 because, well, I can play a PlayStation game on a 1080 with 8 gig. I love that somebody is that Neanderthalic that they think that's a good point. I actually think that's a good thing. What that does is, if you want to hitch your wagon to that side, that's the kind of absolutely asinine argumentation that you have to make. That argues itself out of the ring. You don't even have to debate that point. You don't even have to debate with that. You just stare at how dumb it is. You're like, well, that's incredibly dumb. You want to hitch your wagon to that side who thinks that nobody will come from PC to PS5? That's the kind of asinine argumentation you got to hitch your wagon to. Congratulations. You played yourself. And a 5 bomb from Abe and a 20 bomb from Behemoth. He says, absolutely not. We are not missing this. All right, I owe you guys a 50 bomb. I owe you a 50 bomb. We got to let this clear out. I genuinely thought that this morning. I was like, I hope people do bad faith, like clip out of context argumentation, because that always runs out of train track. You're only appealing to people who can't think for themselves. They won't look into this for themselves. They'll buy into your nonsense. That's actually good. That's totally good. If you actually think that this plan isn't going to work and that it's stupid and that nobody will ever come from PC to PS5, that's the kind of brilliant argumentation that you have to hitch your wagon to. Congratulations. You're on the side that couldn't argue its way out of a wet paper bag. You can play all these games on 8 gig and a 1080. Okay, do it. Oh, do it. Please put that video out. Show how great of an experience that is. Let everybody see. Let everybody see the PC Master Race playing PlayStation games on 1080 cards and 8 gig. Do it. Oh, please. And a 10 bomb from Behemoth. Please. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's good. I like that. Hotshot with 13 months. You're using your PSVR 2 on PC August 7th. I mean, I don't see why I would. You lose features. I mean, if there was a PC VR game that I was just dying to play, I would. You know. If there was a game I was dying to play, I would consider it. But like in general, losing those features, I mean, they're just trying to sell accessories. Like letting people use the PSVR 2 on PC, like that's just such a nothing burger. It's like, okay. Eugene said, I waited 4 years for to play Ghost of Tsushima at the same performance level I could have played it when it launched. Suck it, Sony. Yeah. Yeah, man. You can play Ghost of Tsushima on a 1080 with 8 gig, and it runs as well as it did when it came out 4 years ago on the PlayStation 4. Whew. Wow. Just a dizzying display of intellect. Amskin with a gifted member, taking us to 121. You guys aren't letting us end today. Is this what we're doing? Is this what we're doing? If you haven't taken a second to smash the like button, guys, smash the like button. I appreciate it very much, very, very much. The entire crux of that argument is simply asking the question, is this strategy sound? Can we prove that there's a percentage of people that might consider moving over? And we showed the number of people who have rigs weaker than a PlayStation 5. We showed the number of people who bought a PS5 and didn't own the PS4. Who do you think is the most likely to suddenly buy a PS5? Somebody who's never played a PlayStation game before, or somebody who has played a PlayStation game on a PC and they didn't get the greatest performance, or they got more like mid-level performance? Do you think you're more likely to get a convert from an Xbox person, a Nintendo person, or someone on PC who's played PlayStation property? Who makes up the lion's share of PS5 owners? Who? PlayStation 4 people. Why? They played PlayStation games and they like them, so they come over. Okay, so that's 2/3. The other third, the other 20 million people that own PlayStation 5s, they came from somewhere. And if I'm placing bets, I think it's far more likely it's people who have previously played PlayStation property, and guess who can't do that? Nintendo players can't do that, and Xbox players can't do that. So it's far more likely that a good chunk of people, whatever the number is, there's people who come from PC. Sony's got the data. They know where these people came from. So I was praying. I was like, I really hope someone cherry picks my video so that we can see just how unable anybody's able to argue against these stats. They're going to have to run to bad faith. Thank you for the 5 bombs, Super Gaming. They're going to have to go to bad faith. They're going to have to cherry pick. They're going to have to misrepresent. Good. I'm glad. Because the rest of the video, it's like, how do you argue with a very, very general, this seems to me that there are people that might have done this. I think this proves that the strategy is sound. They're getting new users somehow. The sequels to games that landed on Steam are selling better than they did previously. I don't know. That data, that seems like a straight line to me. That doesn't seem that outlandish to think that there are people that did that. That are like, yep, I bought God of War and I wanted Ragnarok. Bought a PS5. A 1080 doesn't have DLSS, and FSR at 720 is going to be upscaling from a stamp-sized image. I love it. I love it. An offhanded remark about how there are people in the mix that can't even play these games, and they're going to fixate on like, well, you can play games on a 1080 with 8 gig. That's beautiful. You're starving. We got to go to writer's room. You're absolutely starving if that's the point you have to make. You can smell the desperation. It's like, well, somebody that can barely run the game at old gen performance can buy it. Man, you are proving my point, and you don't even realize it. The entire point was literally about that. Was about the fact that people that would have systems that can't run or get good performance out of the game might consider buying the sequel on a box that's cheaper than upgrading their PC. Well, they'll just upgrade to a stronger PC. Why are they on such old hardware then? Did you ever think about that? They're on hardware that is so old. If they were going to upgrade, they would have already done it. They would have done it. Why are so many people not doing that? Why are you getting adoption rates from the smaller portion, from the 30 to 40%, the 60 to 70% is not doing it? Why? They're not like you. There's no pressing reason to go buy all this hardware. Their PC still works. It's doing its job. Like, that's the point. It's like they don't feel that pressing need. And when they suddenly feel like, ooh, equal to a game I already played, that creates a value proposition. Right now, there's no strong value proposition for those people. They're happy on their rig, they're playing, they're having a good time. Being able to play the sequel to a game somewhere else, and you don't have to spend nearly as much money, it's like, that's a value proposition that might bring them over. It might. They're not showing an interest in upgrading their hardware. So, eventually they're going to make a decision, and you got to ask the question, are they going to decide to upgrade every single part of their rig? If they're on a rig that old, a 1080, they're upgrading everything. They're going to, if they want to really boost it up, they're going to be spending a couple grand. Or they go budget again. They go pre-built, they go 800 to 1,000, but still, that's more expensive. It's interesting how people think that Sony came up with this argument out of thin air. Yeah. I think it's disillusioning. I think they're waking up to the fact that they've been buying into hubris and ideology about how, like, we're the master race. We would never go over there and do that. And it's like hearing that a company is actually strategizing to do that. And then when you actually look at the data, there's evidence that they are getting new users from somewhere in large quantities. It's like, like they don't know what to do with that. So what do? They have to make bad faith arguments. They're going to rip comments I made out and only talk about that. Like, oh, he used a Twitter poll, or, oh, he said that some of these people wouldn't even be able to play these games. Well, look how many people could with the 1080 and 8 gig. And it's like, that's such terrible argumentation. You're not even engaging with the crux of the data in that video if that's what you have to do. Because you don't like the fact that that data points to a pretty clear indication that they're getting people to come over. And that completely destroys all of your mantras and your hubris and your ideology. None of that's intact if people are willing to do that. There's 130 million people that use Steam. And if you think every single one of those people are like you are so drunk on hubris, no stats could help you get out of that forest of confusion. Ain't no way you think all those people are like you. Even if 50 million people in that ecosystem are completely different than you and would be willing to buy another console, that's a ton of people. There's only 60 million PlayStation 5s in circulation right now. If they can appeal to just half, or even a little less than half of that audience, that's a ton of folks. Especially when only 30 to 40% of that audience is even on a rig that would never consider it. That means the rest might. And the further you go down that line of power and performance, the more likely they would probably consider it, because they're not invested. They're not spending that much money to have that level of hardware. They're a different consumer than you. If you think the guy on a 1080 or a 1600 series card, or somebody like me who sits on a 2080 for 5 or 6 years, I've had that rig for forever at this point. I've had that thing for 5 or 6 years. If you think people like me are like you are delusional, because we're not. So, all right, it's 12:30. We got to go. We got to go to this thing. Let me get you guys the link to the writer's room. Let's get out of here. I didn't mean to get off on that tangent, but somebody came in and said that, like, I saw the comments on my YouTube. I was like, oh, yeah, I'm getting grief because I cited Twitter polls. Here we go. The bad faith engine's already running. All right, there you go. There's the link. That's where we're headed. I'll put the link in Discord as well. Thanks so much for being a member, and you may be seeing this video because you got a gifted member from me. You may have gotten a gifted member from the audience. We are trying to push the number of people who are paying for their own memberships up. It's at like 600 something, and if that hits 1,000, we're going to do a big celebration. I'll do something crazy, like we've done steak with ketchup, we've done Just Dance, stuff like that. We're going to come up with a good incentive to get you guys to do that because so many generous people are gifting. I dropped a 50 bomb today to celebrate just the love that's happening, and we're easily going to hit that 300 goal for the week, and I'll have to play Lies of P on Friday night. I'll have to go back in and see if I can beat that boss that was giving me so much grief. I'm going to have to get good because I'm not, all right? So that's what we're going to do on Friday night, and we're going to end the previous stream about the Xbox Showcase and bring people over. And let me change the thumbnail. And